Right, I thought I'd try something a bit different to kick us off today. To break the ice a bit, I thought we'd try a joke. I've gone to jokesforus.com and I've looked for kid jokes because, we want people to listen. We don't want to exclude anyone or make fun of anyone.
You do realise that we've had a lot of feedback for this episode, and this may push people away even before the title music kicks in.
Yeah, it's fine.
All of the hard work collating and sorting the show together, and your initial your one piece of preparation. Actually, you have done a little bit of preparation for this one, but your initial piece of preparation. I can say it now. Your initial piece of pepperami is to find a shite joke.
Yeah.
Okay, then on your head be it. I apologise in advance, people of Earth.
Okay, what do you call an alligator in a vest?
Go on.
An investigator.
Play the title music. Welcome back to Oh the Humanities, OT Hums, as it's often known in the playgrounds and offices of Britain. This one we've had a ton of feedback. We had an idea for a show based on really me playing a lot of stuff and bouncing off it quite heavily. And,
you've been bouncy like one of those balls you get as a kid when you throw it and it bounces off everything.
What were those ones? What were those balls with the faces on? Do you remember those?
I don't remember faces. I remember Super Balls, like you could just ping them and you lose them on the roof within 5 minutes.
Yeah. There were ones with faces, and I'm sure with the teeth they used to like cannon off in directions because you'd hit some sort of big monster teeth, and maybe that was...
I had something similar. I had one that was kind of cubed, a bit like a Creighton head. And when you binged it would just fly off, and it was quite big. It was like the size of an apple, so it was quite dangerous.
We didn't know better back then.
No. Well, we
Jurassic
did.
Park.
We knew.
Jurassic Park, that was leaving the house, the hut. But yeah, what was that?
That's Laura playing Minecraft in the background and getting scared by a creeper.
Really? I thought you trodden on one of those kind of hairy creatures that you raise. I can't think of the name.
She ran under my foot and scared me. No, that was all Laura. Having fun there, darling? She's whimpering. Carry on.
Right, after a swig of coffee. This one...
coffee.
There's a little bit of a tie-in on this one as well. So I was looking at the coffees that were in my kitchen. I picked up some more Ethiopia the other day, and I thought I could go for that because I hadn't had that in a little while. I'd still got some Verona. I got some Veranda in there. But I'd also got, and considering that we are going to be a little bit bitchy about games, the whole collective is going to be bitchy about games this time.
Right.
Thought a little bit of catty might be quite nice.
That's very good.
So yeah, I'm enjoying that quite a lot.
Well, I've mixed up my beverage selection today.
Really? Did you put 2 bags in instead of 1, or did one miss the side of the mug and fall down the side of the kitchen cupboards?
I have still used a single bag. I've used milk and I've used water. However, what I've done is mistakenly allowed the tea to go cold. Much like a shit game, it is a cold cup of tea, sour on the tongue, nasty to taste. But yeah, indicative again of what we're doing today. It's something that should be good that isn't.
Right. Well, seeing as we've derailed a little bit, I am going to derail us further and go into a kind of general bit of feedback that we've gotten that sort of ties into that sort of stuff a little bit before we get into
How derailed are we going here? Are we on a different train system altogether?
We might be.
Okay, let's get on the bus and let's go for some feedback.
And then we'll go back. Well, right, I'm going to set our stall out first.
Okay.
So the episode when we get to it, it's a right controversial jam sandwich. This one, 2 categories: games you don't get along with, which reviewers, friends, Illuminati, etc. tell you are the best things since a sliced bread. The second one, games you initially bounced off of, only to come back later and adore. Why the initial impression, and what changed the return. So that's what we're going to tuck into after this wee small appetizer.
Okay.
With apologies to people in Scotland. Right. So the first email was from Callum Ferguson, who says,
"Hey
CJ, the Fergster,
the Fergs,
Fergmeister Ferg. Hey CJ and Paddy, just a few questions for you. They're not really gaming related, so I don't mind if you answer on air, but it's up to you. CJ, you mentioned you liked anime a few times on the show, and you talked extensively in one episode about one show in particular. I don't remember exactly what you said, but you said it was set on an island and had something to do with multiple generations of characters. I remember being quite interested, but I can't quite remember what it was called. Do you recall? So in that first instance, the anime was called Fafner.
What's called? Do you know what? I've written that down in my notes here.
Fafner's fantastic.
Because I've got my book open and I was drawing a picture of it as you were describing it. So I've got an island and there's a thing underneath and there's a dragon over there and an alien.
Yeah. Fafner's fantastic. Fafner's kind of like a cross between Evangelion and The Prisoner, and there's an island floating in the Azure that seems quite picturesque and quite tropical, and it seems that there are alien creatures called the Festum, which have destroyed most of the rest of the world, but the kids on this island have no idea about this, not realizing that the whole of the island is kind of a military base, and that even the people that are working in the shops and the cafes and stuff are all military people, and that most of them have been raised in test tubes, and when the all hell starts to break loose and these kids are drafted in to pilot these machines known as the Fafner, there are the kids that sync with them, the kids that have high sync ratios with them, and also those that fall by the wayside, and some parents who have raised these kids and seem to love them have shunned their child because it seems like a smite on their own career, that the child hasn't connected for a genetic reason or whatever. And underneath the island there's this creature that relates to one of the alien races. The mech suits are all sort of named after dragons and stuff. The original TV series is not particularly well animated. It has an amazing score, fantastic opening song by Angela, who did the opening titles to Knights of Sidonia recently. After the initial 26 episode series, they went into a movie a few years ago, which was pretty much, if you haven't seen the original series, you're fucked. If you haven't seen the original series for quite some time, you're probably still fucked.
Nice.
So yeah, and it's stunningly animated, the movie was. And recently they've gone into Fafner Dead Exodus, I think it is. Might be the new one. Which again is brilliantly animated, but has taken things on a step further. It's probably the most accessible the series has been since the start, and the current one has gone about 13 episodes and it's taking a break and it's coming back in October. But Fafner's fantastic. In Japan, it's even had a stage play, which I can't quite imagine how you translate that into a stage play, but maybe they do the thing where they get in the mech suits and they just sort of darken the stage bar a few lights and it almost becomes like a radio play, perhaps, or
they sort of display some video on the background of the play and then they cut back to like a guy in a cockpit going, "Oh no!" Not
even that. I'm wondering if they do a thing whereby you're listening to the other pilots talking in, or you're listening to home base, and it's maybe just got a series of lights on someone that's sitting in a chair that's the equivalent of like the cockpit and stuff, and it's just pure radio and playing out in your imagination. I don't know, but I think they got the original voice actors to take the roles.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. But I love Fafner. And
it's a good explanation as well, because that explains why I've drawn a stick man in a box. That was the test tube, baby.
Well, there's a really strong musical theme that's in the original, because it's like I say, it's a little bit kind of Thunderbirds meets The Prisoner meets it's just fantastic. But there's a piece of music which plays when it looks like all hell's going to break loose, and it sort of leads in, and then it hits in with this bombast that's like a John Williams score, and it just raises the hackles on your arms because you're like, oh my god, it's happening. And in the new series, they hadn't played this particular pice.
I remember you saying,
yeah, and it was going along, and there were little bits sort of towards the end of the series where I was saying to my friend Pete, if this comes on, I am properly going to sob. And they saved this piece of music until about 3 episodes from the end, and when it sort of the lead in sort of built in, and it was almost like a dum dum dum, like just like a you know, like how Superman leads in before the score comes in. So there was that kind of going in, and then there was something to do with one of the alien races and the one of the Fafners being dangerous and having to be sealed away, and then becoming the synchronicity between the pilots and the Fafner getting as such that there are certain physical defects that start to happen to some of the kids because they become synchronized with these machines that have then evolved a little bit, and it's really, really fascinating. But particularly when this Fafner that's considered dangerous is sort of unsealed, and the main guy from the first series, who has just been running like a curry house in this one for the most of it. There's been like a second generation that's come through, and it's the point where he goes to kind of unseal this machine, and that's the point they kick in with this theme. And I was always like, oh my god, there's got to be a point where the original cast sort of get back into the machines. But when that theme kicked in as well, and it was just, everything just hit at the right time, and it was perfectly placed. But it's a belter. I love Fafner to pieces. And now the screenwriter is doing pretty big things. He's in demand. And whilst the original was a book that he wrote and a TV series from 10 or so years ago, he's now doing pretty massive stuff. So I love Fafner to pieces. So thank you for asking that, Fergs. So Fergs also goes on to ask, also, do you watch anime seasonally, or do you just prefer to watch whatever shows take your fancy? If you do watch seasonally, is there anything you're watching this season? I tend to do a little bit of both. If there's something that's not turned up on Crunchyroll and maybe turns up later on Netflix, I've dived into that. Or if there's now, because I got a recommendation of rawanime.tv, which is a bit of a naughty site, but from there I've been raw. From there I've been catching up on stuff that hasn't hit Crunchyroll or has been recommended from years gone by, and I've not seen it before. So seasonally, what am I watching at the minute? I started watching a show called Gangster, like Gangsta, recently, which seems to be only about. Yeah, it is. It's only about sort of 2 or 3 episodes deep, and I wouldn't say the animation is gobsmacking, but it seems to be a cross between sort of a samurai epic, a western, and a sort of mafia flick about these two guys that live in this what seems to be a very Italian-looking neighborhood, and will take down gangs or the undesirables that the police can't get near, but the police have to give them sort of the tip of the hat to be able to do it. And one of these two guys is actually deaf, which is really interesting.
Okay.
So, and it's I don't know. Again, it's not particularly well animated, but the music's by the guy that did the music for Samurai Champloo.
Okay.
So it's got kind of like a wonderful sort of hip hop dub sort of aspect to it, and it's I watched the first episode and just thought, I quite like that. It felt a little bit like Black Lagoon as well, which is a show that I really enjoyed. So I'm watching that, and the other one is a show called Seraph of the End, which is about kind of we've seen stuff with zombie viruses hitting the world, and everything spinning out into what's become a trope and a cliche and stuff.
It's an underused one, certainly.
This is the Seraph of the End is about kind of a world that something happens and you don't know quite what it is, but the world gets infested with sort of monsters and stuff like that, and there are vampires that turn up in cities and basically tell people that they will protect them from whatever's beyond the city, as long as the humans that are there essentially become like a blood bank for them. And it's all quite militaristic and almost quite Nazi-like in a way, that the way that they act amongst what they view as cattle, and this group of children that are young children that are living together, and who decide to try and break beyond the walls and try and find freedom, not quite knowing just what might be beyond, and all the backgrounds that look like they're hand painted. So it's got a very unusual look to the backgrounds, very crafted, and not quite as clean cut and computer animated as you'd see most stuff. But the stuff in the foreground almost looks like cells over the top. So they've gone for a very stylized look, and the show can get a little shonen at times, and perhaps a little kind of, I don't know, there's almost an old school comic mentality about it, that like something happens and people learn about it and there's an incident and then things move on from there. But even amidst all of that, it's got real heart to it, and it's a bit of a curiosity at the minute, but I'm really loving it. And the music is by Sawano-san, who did the music for Gundam Unicorn and I'll Know as Zero, and the guy's the greatest musician, I think, working in anything at the moment. I think he's incredible, and he's doing the music for Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is coming out in December on the Wii U. So yeah, those are the two that I'm watching at the minute. Fergs then says, also, everyone knows you're a coffee buff, but I'm curious to know if you have any ways to get into coffee, where to source your coffee, how to make it, etc. I obviously work in it now, and even before
that.
Yes, smear me. I'd probably stink of it as well. But
it's made from here,
baby. But before I started working in coffee, I just knew that I liked it, and I liked a dark roast. And I couldn't tell you the difference between a macchiato and a cappuccino or a latte. I genuinely didn't know the difference between them. But I did like a dark roast, and I thought that's what good coffee was. Working in it and with it, you start to realise that the different flavours, that it's a dark roast doesn't necessarily mean a great cup of coffee. You can get, with a light roast like a medium roast or a blonde roast, you can get much more of the coffee cherry coming through, elements of citrus or spices, all dependent on the region that it comes from. And part of the fun is then matching that up with different foods as well. That you might get something like Guatemala, which has got like a delicious sort of spice to it. But if you have that with a little milk chocolate and a little caramel, buttery biscuits, it's one flavour sort of mixes in with the other, and it's, if you have a little bite of one, a little sip of the other, it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm drinking all the coffee down. It's enjoying it. It's letting the flavours process in the palate and just having fun with it, really. So yeah, and that's a favourite part of the job in of itself. But let me think how to get into coffee. I'd say go either shop online or go into a store that's got whole bean. Most stores will grind it for whichever way you want to drink it. The most popular is a cafetiere or French press. So pop about, I'd say about 40-50 grams in there, or a couple of spoonfuls, and add hot water. Stir it with a spoon, then leave it 4 minutes before sort of plunging the top, and you've got a nice cup of coffee from there. I've got a mocha pot at the moment, which almost looks like a little kettle, and it screws in the middle, and you put a little hot water in the bottom, and then there's a metal filter where you place the coffee. Then the top of the mocha pot goes on, screws on. You put it on the stove, and the hot water sort of boils up. It goes through the filter, and then in the top of it there's a little sort of funnel as well, and it starts sort of spurting out into there. Makes I always get the grind to Turkish on this one, and it makes for me it brings out the something really oily and beautiful. It makes your lips feel like they've got balm on them, and it's within that it feels less dry than a cafetiere coffee. It's just wonderfully flavorful, and one of my favorite things at the moment is just having like a cup of black coffee and then having a little bowl of cranberries and almonds and cashews and raisins, just picking at one and sipping at the coffee with it. It's lovely. The Ferguson says, thanks for taking the time to read. I love all your shows, love Souls, and you guys were my first and still my favourite Souls podcast.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry to be so CJ focused. I'll try to have a few Paddy questions next time. Perhaps I could get some help on what exact shade of orange to dye my hair.
Jesus. No one asked me how to get into tea, right? You start with water, right? Yeah.
Satsuma Inferno is your hair dye colour.
Oof, how dare you. It's
That sounds powerful. I think powerful yet fruity.
I'm going to go with what I called my SmackDown character, a Mexican ginger wrestler. I'm going to go with my hair colour as being Inferno Intenso. Because it just has that flavour to it. Yeah, Inferno Intenso. Yeah. But, no, I don't know. Hair might not be a great subject for me soon, but not today.
Yeah, we'll see that.
That's coming.
So, as a little hop, skip, and jump before we press on, this is really for one of our other podcasts, but I'm going to announce it here anyway. Richard Sawyer is the winner of our Twin Destiny Movril promotion. Hey! Round of applause, please. Movril, where's the beef? Where is it?
Can you find it?
I don't know where it is.
Are we too quiet?
Movril. That was Movril. So Richard will be receiving his prizes, plural, very soon. So yeah, we'll sort those out for you, Richard. I'm sure Paddy's forgotten what those prizes are.
Oh, I remember. Vividly.
Okay then.
Year's supply, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Year's supply of Movril, wasn't it?
It isn't. Which
is one jar, because that stuff lasts for ages.
It's a hand-drawn tweeted picture by each of us.
Ooh, of something.
So I think it's probably Destiny related, but I'm not going back and listening to that show. Fuck that.
Fuck it, let's just make something up.
Yeah.
I might do an alligator in a vest.
Yeah, I think you better do. That's your with a Destiny helmet on.
Yep, done.
With like the front maybe sort of open and that big fucking toothbrush gob sticking out. Right. So before we had a sidestep about 8 yards wide. So, reminder for this a right controversial jam sandwich. I'm saying that twice now because I think it's an episode title. 2 categories: games you don't get along with, which reviewers, friends, Illuminati, etc. tell you are the best things in the world. And secondly, titles you originally kind of I'm not asked at this, but then you came back later and you're like, oh, fucking hell, I really like this. So, why the initial impression? And what changed, and we've got a few of our own to sew into these, but we'll do those in a bit. Okay. So emails first. First email from my friend Ellie Joy Panic. She said Uncharted, really didn't like it after it had been hyped up so much. I was really disappointed. The story was rubbish, the gameplay mechanics were good, but the same as every other RPG shooter, and it was so goddamn repetitive. Thoughts, Mister? Are you an Uncharted fan?
I'm Mr. Uncharted. I love those friggin' things. Like, I think it's one of the first.
Mr. Uncharted.
Yeah, his name is Nathan, but I prefer Mr. Uncharted. No, I remember.
They call me Mr. Uncharted.
Because I got it a bit cheaper because Laura worked at Game at the time, so I was getting my PS3 games for like 30 quid when they were new, which was pretty good at the time. I was like, fucking buy everything then. And I remember really, really digging the original Uncharted. It felt like an Indiana Jones game. But I do get that a lot of people don't like it. Like, and I can see why they don't like it, but that stuff doesn't really apply for me. Like, I can see why people would find it repetitive, and you're just shooting the people that aren't the same colour as you. I get that. I do get that, But it's one of those things, personal taste. Like, to flip the coin on that's head, I have played a little bit of Gears of War. Not much, a little bit. And I thought it's the same thing, but I didn't get on with that, whereas I preferred the way Uncharted handled. I don't know, maybe it's the handling. I don't know, I enjoyed the game, and I kind of like the sort of big, stupid B-movie film plot of it, but I understand that some don't.
And because it's on PlayStation.
It's got the right colour buttons, isn't it? So...
now you see
What's this A people tell me to press? I will press square like a man.
Although square and circle are the wrong way round in the West, aren't they? They often say this on 8-4 Play.
Isn't it X and circle as well? Because because I've been playing Metal Gear Solid, the first one, again recently, and like every single goddamn piece of shit, goddamn friggin' time that I start that game up, I swear to God, since I bought this game when I was about 13 or something like that, in the 15 years it's been since I've had that game, every single time I go to start the game, I press X to start game, and X is the back out button, and it backs back out again.
Yeah, because in Japan they're the other way around, aren't
every single time.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just keep thinking, I think I'm not going to do it this time, and I load it up and I get all excited by the PlayStation, boing, zing, at the start, and forget, and end up pressing X and then cursing my own name.
Bwomzing is my favourite Estonian dictator.
How'd you spell that?
I'll work it out.
It starts with a G.
Yeah, so because the folks on 8-4 Play are saying that they get used to playing games in the modern day, the way they are on Western sort of PlayStation controls, but in Japan, circle and square are in the other place. So it's a bit of a head for them, especially because some of them have got Western PS4s and some have got Japanese PS4s, and
of course in Japan as well, the Xbox controllers don't actually have an analog because no one buys Xboxes in Japan.
Oh, I see what you did there.
See what I did?
Bobby PlayStation. You see, that's why I'm becoming increasingly Xbox. I think it's just in some sort of, you're eroding me, so I'm like, I have to fight back. Like Doctor Doom, he gets his face burnt and he's like, where are these moles?
Richards!
Yeah. So, with Uncharted, I picked up my PS3 a little while before Uncharted 2 is coming out, and all the reviews had hit, and everybody was like, this is the best thing since sliced bread. It certainly looked pretty as fuck. The people that originally played it on opening day were like, Jesus Christ, this is like playing a movie, it's amazing. I'd picked up the first one at that point and really enjoyed the first one. I really, really loved it. And I liked the fact that it had got one of those last levels, which were... it almost seemed like, you finished the game, so this last level is just really a bit of a celebration.
Is a flourish.
That you finished it. And they were playing the theme music like throughout it. It was great. I loved it. But when I got to Uncharted 2, it looked great, but I didn't click with the location, and I wasn't as engaged. And despite it being like really pretty and jumping off, falling through things and jumping off buildings and it being a long way down and everything looking super pretty, it just didn't connect with me at all.
That's weird.
Yeah, it happens like that sometimes.
Yeah, you do. Like you just don't necessarily click. It happens, and well, that's the subject of everything we're going to talk about, isn't it? So,
well, I think that sometimes it can be characters that you like in places that you like them in. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I liked the whole mystical island of the first one, the almost Tomb Raider-esque aspect with Indiana Jones, and then the reveal of the the underground race who were I don't know, is a little twist of lime in there. I was just entertained.
That bit with the sudden zombies 2/3 through the game, out of nowhere, shitting bricks at that. What a perfectly played moment as well. You're like, what's happening? What's happening now? Oh dear! Like brilliant stuff.
I think there's
Uncharted 2. Did you finish Uncharted 2?
No, I really didn't get that far into it
because it goes a few places. Like the snow levels in particular are like top bollock.
I mean, I'm curious to maybe have another welly at it in that.
If only there was
collection.
a remaster coming out, yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of, there is the aspect that when I had that, I think I only had a couple of games on PlayStation 3, and I think that funnels you a little bit to keeping on with the games that you've got. I mean, a lot of us are in a position now where we can maybe trade things up, or we've got a few things on the go, and it's a very lucky position to be in.
Or bet PlayStation Plus and have infinite games forever.
Yeah. I'd see how you plugged that again there. Well
Love
played.
it so much. It's so good.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure at that point I was playing Uncharted and the first was that really good series of first-person shooters on the Resistance. Yeah, I was playing the first one, and I liked the first one. It wasn't perfect, but I liked a lot of the history they'd done around England, like the alien race sort of taking Nottingham through the tunnels that are historically underneath the city. I've been to New York a million times. But I'd not run through the streets of York. I'd not fought things in Manchester Cathedral. The fact that the alien race sort of built a processing factory in like Cheddar Gorge. I was engaged again. I was engaged by the environment.
Would you argue that heading through York was new?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been maybe a bit of that in an early Call of Duty, perhaps. I don't know. But it just felt like you got sort of World War II era or an old style look, and the cobbled streets of York, and then all of a sudden you got this like massive alien race with huge eyes and sort of laser guns and stuff. It just seemed like a really intriguing fit. And like I say, even though the game wasn't perfect, I enjoyed the research behind it, which is why I was a little disappointed that I can understand the second one going to America and setting it there, but the third one, which I've not played, which I heard is really good, I would have liked to see them like properly take it back and try and retake Europe, seen as the original stuff happened in Russia and spread across Europe, and then was stopped as it trying to get near to Blighty. But I certainly would have liked that series to continue over Killzone. I think it had a little more going for it, and I hope it comes back as well. There's rumours, isn't there?
There are. We could get another remaster, at least, to start. Gauge the interest, and if it's good, then it might make an appearance again. Who knows?
I wouldn't be, if they did it in the same way as doing a trilogy like the Uncharted trilogy. It's, I wouldn't be against that, and perhaps it's one of those that would be pretty cost effective as well. Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Cool. But, right. Yeah. Next.
Our next email is from Charles Turner, Vader Van Odin.
Oh, Vader Van Odin, friend of the show.
Games that I really don't like: Grand Theft Auto, Skyrim, and Batman Arkham City. I know they're loved by many, but I really don't find them fun. I think they're repetitive and in the end very boring. I love a good side quest, but I really don't like it when 65% of a game's content is fluff and fetch quests.
Ooh. Well, I've got more to say about GTA, so we'll come back to that later.
Well, I think that particularly considering the open world aspect of a few of the bits that Charles mentions, it comes back to the Arkham Asylum versus City sort of thing that a lot of people are saying that they liked being funneled and focused and feeling like a place that was big but you were going from area to area to area, and there were constant surprises, but everything seemed designed and compact, and you were in a place rather than having to go all the way over to the place.
It was a sniper bullet rather than a machine gun. It's like,
that's the sort of thing that I really love Burnout 3, and I'd take that any day of the week over Burnout Paradise, which was just felt like a colossal waste of time for me.
Huge disagreement, but let's not get into that.
No, I just really didn't like the open world city with nobody in it. This sort of,
you press the button and people go online.
No, this kind of strange car land with no people. I found
it's paradise
for cars.
Yeah, that's cars when they get smashed in the crusher. They turn back up. That's why when you get a new car, it appears all smashed up.
For Transformers that can't change into robot mode. I just didn't. I mean, especially the early point that I played Burnout Paradise. I didn't like the fact that I'd do a race and then, I know they patched this, but
they did.
I'd do a race and then couldn't go back to do that race again. I just thought I was horseshit.
Oh, see, no, I got into that. I like doing different things. I say, right, what am I in? I'll do that next and do that next. Like that. See, that really gelled for me.
Yeah,
this is weird. That's really weird. But yeah, as far as like open world fluff, I understand where you come from with Skyrim. I think Skyrim for me, because I've played quite a lot of it. I never finished it, but like, I played enough of it to know that I'd done everything I needed to, and I barely touched the main story. And like, I don't know, I don't hate Skyrim because it is fun to bollock about and mess with it, and there's loads you can do in it, like loads you can do. But I kind of like nothing it now. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It's there and it's a thing, and it's kind of cool, but I just kind of have a feeling that I've done it already. And like when you think like you finished halfway through a game, because of the amount of fluff on the side. I know a lot of current games are suffering from this problem as well, where it's like, look at all this content, none of it means anything. Like, do it all. Go on, go to every point, pick up all the feathers. Go on, do it.
I think that kind of ties in a little bit to the sort of missions that you're doing as side missions.
And if you're a completionist as well, like it's not gonna. Your own brain isn't gonna let you leave them alone.
Yeah. Well, I know that from Unity.
You're fighting your own brain, and you can't beat your own brain because it's you.
But like the folks
what you're thinking.
A lot of the folks that are really into Witcher 3 have been saying that even aside from the main quest line, that these individual story aspects of people and the things that the aspects that aren't right or wrong, you're having to make a judgment and guess things, and those can have connotations and stretch out. That to me is really interesting, because it seems like
it's not fluff,
it's not so much padding. It's a world that's resonant, and sort of twisting this around to a genuine hate of mine. I'll chip in with again with Dragon Age Inquisition, which was a fucking husk of a world. A game that didn't even.
You dug that at first, didn't you?
I was genuinely trying to get into it. It just felt like a husk of the world, and all of the side quests were just boring as fuck. There was nothing there again, and when at points where I repeatedly thought, it's going to crack off now, it didn't. Like there was a bit where I was approaching some sort of castle, and there were tons and tons of creatures that were running out at me, and I was like, yes, I've persevered and I've got there. And one of my characters went, they're still coming, sire. We should go through to the castle. And I continued like sort of twatting into these things. And I heard, we should persevere, sire. We should go through to the castle. There are too many of them. I was like, all right, now you might as well just put a marker there. And when I got past these creatures, they just stopped fucking spawning. And when I got into this castle bit, there must have been 5 people in there.
What? Be careful.
And it was like that throughout the whole game. And the point where I sudded it off was I went into because I then got engaged by a place called the Storm Coast, which was
that lovely
really,
scene that
really
you stared at for like an hour.
Yeah, really beautiful scenery, and I kind of got into a couple of the characters a little bit. Iron Ball was kind of cool, and there was an elven girl who the voice actress was from here. She was from Derby, so she had sort of a local accent, and she was really funny. And I was like, yeah, I was really sort of throwing myself into it, and all through that level I could hear like the rumblings of a dragon. I was thinking like, it's gonna fucking crack off. And you know, I was wandering through those mountain ranges with a sense of dread, and nothing happened. There was no dragon there. Not like there was a bit where a dragon had a fight with something and knocked it into the sea, I think, and then disappeared. And I saw some baby dragons a little bit later on, but that was it.
Again, did nothing happen?
Yeah, and I went through. I found another massive castle, and there was barely anybody in it. I then found some sort of place that looked a little bit like the mountain ranges of Tatooine in Star Wars, where Luke starts seeing like the Jawas and stuff like that. And I think I was attacked by a number of dogs, or I think it was bears, probably.
And let's call them dire bears.
There was nothing else there. There was nobody else there, and it just felt like they were going towards a release date, and a lot of people had named it as the game of the year, and a lot of people that I understand that a few folks have got resonance with these characters, and that they played the first one, they'd even played through the second one, even though they didn't enjoy it so much. There were qualities that they really liked, and those people who had got that investment and they'd gone through to the end of the game, and they'd done the main quest line, and all those people were saying like, oh, you know, you shouldn't bother with side stuff, just go through to the main quest line. But I was so, why would you put side stuff in there if it's shit?
Exactly, yeah, you want it to make sense, you know, like
if it's there.
The problem with Skyrim as well is a lot of the side quests are kind of generated, aren't they? They're sort of like, Johnny Big Bollocks here wants you to get a thing from Sammy Sillyface over there, but you can't tell which ones are kind of like unique ones and which ones are generated, so you have to do them all anyway, and you pick up 17 more. You're like, which ones of these are important? I can't tell,
because it comes back in that regard with Dragon Age Inquisition that you know, there were things like you'd run through water and it would just make a splashing sound and have a visual effect. It didn't feel like anything was different. You know, the way that you were holding the pad, or if there was any resistance when you're running through water. The jump mechanic was fucking shite as well. But it comes back in that regard to Dragon's Dogma, which is a world that an open world that was designed within an inch of its life. That everywhere that you went, you could go down a well in the opening section, and you'd be taught about light and dark, and water affects your lamp, and there'd be a new range of creatures underneath there. You go off the beaten track, and maybe you get hammered by
something like lizard men.
Yeah, well,
you should stroke the tail and watch out for their vests.
Yeah, they're weak to fire. But you got the night and day mechanic. You got the point where you ventured off the beaten track, and is that a dragon coming through the woods? It certainly is.
I still never beat that dragon.
Oh, I did.
I ran scared from him every time I saw him. He just flattened me every time.
I eventually had like magical arrow, and it was one of those where it's like it's just like highlighting loads of areas to fight arrows on. But that was a world that was constantly surprising. And felt alive, and is one of those even afterwards where in the back of my mind I can leave the first village and I know exactly where I'm going down the road. I can see where the goblins are. I can see where I can fork off towards the left and go to the Witchwood. I can see where the land rises up, where there's that Cyclops that's seemingly milling quite peacefully in the water near all the harpies, which are just around him. And they've given you that challenge if you want to try and take one on. You realise how fucking tough they are. the bit where you first encounter one of those Cyclops that's got a helmet on, and when you hit him on the back of the head and he pulls the helmet off, when you realise when you go underground and you find those creatures that are more vicious to women than they are to men.
Internet people.
Those big sort of like hairy monkey ape-like things.
Internet people.
But even going back on there the other week, as I did to because a friend of mine, there was I think they were going to use my pawn and it wasn't coming. It was saying that it was in the rift, but it wasn't, and apparently you have to get rid of a few people from the rift, and there are kind of characters that are buffered to then walk into it.
Yes.
But I went onto there and I had to run around that world again, and it was still engaging. It was still frightening and funny, and it got so much character. But it was an open world, but it just felt designed. It felt every aspect of that place had been thought through. And I know a few folks had said, "Oh, it'd be great if the enemies were more random, that we now know where they are and stuff like that." But within their placement, it just felt like it had been really, really thought through. And I think that's why many people who loved it then, and many folks that have picked it up since, whether it be on PlayStation Plus or cheaper. I know my friend Ellie's always sort of ringing the bell for it in the video game shop she works in, and I think people have got a lot of affection for that world, and I think that it is characterful.
I think I've come up with something as well.
What's that?
I've come up with a reason why it's good, why the side stuff works in Dragon's Dogma, right? Because there's not so much of it that you're maximum level halfway through the game.
Yeah.
Skyrim has that problem super hard. Assassin's Creed, I would argue, some of the other ones, I was big pimping way before the end.
Yeah,
way
I
before.
think
and if there's that much that you can be big pimping before the halfway point, you were fucked up.
Yeah, true.
Let people do things and whatever all they want, but don't let them be amazing god kings before they're halfway through it.
I think with Dragon's Dogma again, that you could be running through the classes, and you can be doing all the missions and stuff, but it would still enjoy sending you to a point where you vaguely knew where it was on the map, perhaps, and the way that you got there was entirely up to you, but there will be things there to seriously fuck you up. And also that day-night cycle was genius.
It was.
And was genuinely scary, I thought. And it felt like you'd gone on a journey when you had to go to the other side of the map. And when you arrived at a campsite, there was genuinely a level of, oh, thank God.
Absolutely. But this is not a show about things we like. This is a show about things we hate. So what's next?
I think there's a degree of contrast in there. So.
There is. But what's next?
Right. We had a sumptuous tome from John, a.k.a. Catatonic Nally.
Nally?
Let me go back.
Yeah. Nally.
I think that's our differentials of accents.
I like that.
I'll need to take a swig for this one.
Okay.
Right. Hi, CJ and Paddy. I trust this epistle finds you well. Seeing as you asked so nicely, I thought I'd share with you my long and convoluted tale of how I bounced off Dark Souls like so many others. I was initially planning to write about a couple of other games as well, but after finishing the Dark Souls story, I think it's in everyone's best interest to leave it at this. Unfortunately, before Dark Souls came along, I wasn't aware of Demon Souls at all. For the entirety of the 7th generation, I was an Xbox 360 guy, finding more than enough games to play on there than I ever felt that I never felt the need to buy a PS3 or a Wii. So the first I was aware of the Souls series was when I started seeing previews for the upcoming Dark Souls on an Australian gaming TV show called Good Game. Immediately I was interested. I love a good tough RPG, and the blending of Western and Eastern elements looked fascinating to me. Fortunately at the time I was flat broke. My local games retailer was doing a deal where you could trade in 3 games to get a brand new release for 99 cents.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Obviously, you couldn't take any old crap, but there was a long list of games that weren't eligible. But I managed to find a few that, despite being a few years old, had been missed off the list for some reason. I believe that I traded in copies of Borderlands, Red Dead Redemption, and that Ghostbusters game to get my brand new limited edition of Dark Souls pretty soon after its release. I immediately dived into the game, loving every minute of it. I didn't stop because I found it too frustrating and gave up, nor did I dislike anything about it. Within a week, I'd fought my way through the Undead Burg, Parish, Lower Burg, and had located the bonfire in the depths. I'd smashed the Taurus Demon and Bell Gargoyles without too much trouble, and even beaten the Capra Demon with relatively low levels of hatred towards it by employing a Zen-like patience. This was to be my initial stopping point, but I wouldn't say I stopped playing of my own volition. I was born and raised in England, but happened to be very lucky possessor of both a British and Australian nationality and citizenship. Pretty much as soon as I was old and financially stable enough to leave my parents' home, I did so in a fairly magnificent fashion by moving all the way down under, where I spent the next 4+ years living and creating the building blocks for a life there without any desire to return to the jolly old UK. Unfortunately, during this time, I became quite sick and found it difficult to manage my new disease in a country that only has partially subsidised rather than free healthcare. During the week that I'd been playing Dark Souls, suddenly an opportunity came up to travel back to the UK for treatment, which I was trepidatious about, although really it was an opportunity I couldn't afford to pass up. So on the assumption that I would be away for just a couple of weeks, I threw a few essentials in my suitcase as if I was simply going on holiday. As I should have known, generally nothing goes smoothly when it comes to sickness and treatment, and in the end it was nearly 3 months before I was finally reunited with my beloved video games. Fortunately, my brother managed to gather up as many of my possessions as possible and bring them back to me while he was in Australia on holiday over Christmas and New Year, as I languished, diseased both physically and mentally by that point in the English winter. In many ways I could relate to my character in Dark Souls, a nobody cast into a land that feels alien and hostile, stuck in a near hopeless situation he doesn't necessarily understand and struggles to do anything about. I felt like I too had been left sitting in the dark at that dismal solitary bonfire in the depths, surrounded by a maze of shit, piss and other unpleasantries, waiting for someone who could control the situation to return and do so, but worrying that it might never happen. With the return of a number of my personal artefacts, especially a large portion of my gaming collection, came a ray of sunlight for both me and my character. I had spent a lot of time thinking about how much I'd been enjoying Dark Souls and how I really wanted to get back into it. Now I had the opportunity and jumped at it only to bounce off again almost immediately. The problem with having to go back to a game like Dark Souls after 3 months of inactivity is that you forget the intricacies of it. And the further problem with going back to it while in the depths is that you find yourself in a horrible maze filled with traps, dead ends, hidden holes in the floor that drop down to completely different sections of the maze, and enemies the likes of which you'd never seen before. I'd like to think that I gave it a fairly good shake, and in my head I did, but in reality it probably didn't take too long before I gave up out of pure frustration. I couldn't remember which way it was to get back to the Lower Undead Burg, and couldn't for the life of me find it. Couldn't seem to make any progress forwards, and of course to cap it all I got cursed and then had no fucking idea how to cure myself. Obviously after getting cursed I didn't have enough health to make any progress in any direction, so at that point I decided for the sake of my already fragile sanity it would be best to take a break. And this negative experience in the depths sullied my will to get back into the game for quite some time after that. Though I keep telling myself that I really need to return to the game and get back into the groove I've originally been in, it took me over a year to finally take the plunge to get back in there. I think the thing that finally got me off my arse in late March 2013 was that I knew there was an imminent Cane and Rinse episode about the game, so I wanted to have at least a good chunk of it beaten before I listened to the show. As it turned out, I came back in very strong, overcame my frustrations in the depths without too much more trouble, and then immediately fell straight back in love with the game. I got the majority of it finished before the Cane and Rinse episode was released, and would you know that show included a recommendation for a podcast I was previously ignorant to, One Bonfireside Chat, which I immediately sought out and found to be an absolutely exceptional companion to my playing the game. I finished my first playthrough of Dark Souls over the course of about 3 weeks. That's pretty good. And within a further fortnight had beaten New Game Plus, racking up over 150 hours of playtime. Needless to say, Dark Souls jumped way up onto my favourite games of all time list. It's definitely sitting at least in silver medal position. Over the next few months, I listened to the rest of the Bonfireside chat episodes about the game as they were released, and of course that only cemented my undying love for it. So there you have it. I bounced off Dark Souls twice before finally pulling my finger out and finding it to be just about my favourite game of all time. My experiences with it was seriously entwined with some heavy personal problems I was going through at the time, and although that had both a positive and negative impact, it certainly made it unforgettable. That's more than long enough for anyone to reasonably read out, but we did. And it's pretty cool. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Some nuggets of truth in there about leaving something for a while and coming back. Like I've had that with games that I can't remember because I've clearly bounced off of them and forgot them. But I know I've done it loads where you start something and you play for like a few hours and think, oh, this is kind of cool, and you leave it for a while and other things come up and you go back and you just like you don't know what you're doing.
Well, a few folks have done that with Souls anyway, haven't they?
Souls is a big one for that, isn't it? I mean, it's, you have to be in the zone and paying attention. And if you've forgotten how to work the damn thing, then the depth is probably one of the worst places to kind of ease yourself back in, I would say. But yeah, I know I've done that myself a few times where you just put something aside for a bit and come back and you just think, well, this is shit. I can't do it. No.
Well, I mean, with regards to Dark Souls, I mean, I mentioned on the Kingdom Hearts Demon Souls and a few other places, especially my connection to Dark Souls 2, that a lot of that is sort of linked to depression, understanding depression, moving on beyond it, and it's a huge part of my life there. So I can see how being in that place of being a stranger in a strange land and being ill and trying to get beyond that and trying to find the wherewithal, and how the game can find a certain grace and a certain solace and empathy and understanding that within the mirror world, if you will. So most definitely, but yeah, bounce backs. Have you chuck me a bounce back? Chuck me one of yours. Chuck me a bounce back.
One I've bounced back at, one that I didn't like and came back to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
Right, Resident Evil 5.
Okay.
Resident Evil 5. I've got three. So I'm going to throw Resident Evil 5 out there as the first one.
We'll just go with one for now.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. Right, okay. So big Resi people, me and the missus, big Resi people, played the shit out of all of them pretty much. Resi 5. Oh, it's co-op. Oh, we can play that together. Oh, co-op. Download the demo. Brilliant. Thought it was absolutely gobshite. Utterly gobshite. I think it was...
It was gobshite.
Yeah, it chucks you in and you're in a big... It's quite a hard bit of the game it chucks you in at.
That's a terrible demo, and it's honestly is one of the hardest startups to any game I've ever played.
Yeah, it's like, right, drop into this area, now get fucked. Is basically what they're saying to you. And it is achievable, like it's doable, but by that point in the game, when you actually played the main game, it's a good half an hour before you get to that point and you've had a bit of practice, you know what you're doing. We spent 5 minutes just trying to run around in circles, trying to work out how to reload, because it wasn't as easy as it had been on other ones. The systems were a bit different. And then going through a doorway and a giant executioner guy just sort of cut off Laura's head in a single chop. And we looked at it like, nah, this isn't for us, and just gave up on it. And it was a good... Oh God, year and a half maybe before we got back in. We rented it from the Love Film because we were renting all sorts of shit from Love Film. We thought, we'll put it back on. We'll give it another go. As you do.
That was great though. Love Film was amazing.
Love Film was the best. And when that stopped doing games, I was so fucking sad. And I just paid for a year in advance as well, the bastard. So I got that all refunded. But we jumped back in, and starting from the actual start of the game, it's so much better. And this could be more of a moan about bad demos than games you bounce back off of. But, like, given the chance to actually immerse ourselves and take our time and get into it, brilliant. Almost straight away we were in on it. And it's like, this is great. Why wasn't this the demo? Why didn't they start the demo at the beginning?
I thought the demo, or certainly the demo I played, was exactly the start of the game.
No, the demo we played, it's the village demo where it drops you in, you walk along a little plank and you drop down and then shit just kicks off. Like, it just kicks off. Like, the start of the game has the classic, walk into a room, there's a man eating a thing and he turns around and it's a zombie and you have to kill it. Oh no! It's that classic single zombie setup at the start. there's a bit more kind of walking kind of quietly through a town that's not quite gone to shit yet. It's much more nuanced, and the bit you're playing there is actually like the end of one of the first chapters.
Yeah.
So you're a good hour in, you know, and you should know stuff by that point that you don't know if you're just picking straight in. And like I say, this could be more of a rant about demos that are shit. But yeah, we bounced off it super hard. Like we were like, we're never playing that. That's terrible. And I only just rented it on Love Film because, you know, it's what, $5 a month, and we can get as many games as we want. Like, yeah, fuck it, put whatever on there. You could go for it. And I'm glad we did, because then we went back and we platinumed that goddamn thing.
Yeah, because that was a big thing for the two of you, wasn't it?
And this is again, it's
couch
a lot of
couch co-op's a thing that doesn't happen anymore. So
it's not. And I know a lot of people that don't like Resi 5, and I think those people are the guys that played it with AI Sheva, or AI Companion, shall we say? You might want to play Sheva. An AI Companion is awful. It's fuck awful, like really really bad. But with an actual human player, you can blame when things go wrong. It's way better, way better. And I don't hang on to the time when Laura dropped me in a pit and laughed.
You say that, sir, but there seems to be resonance in your voice to say otherwise.
She's behind me.
It's an accident.
It was an accident. But most insulting was as I'm falling to my death, Laura's character, who Laura's playing as Chris, just sort of looks over and goes, "Sheva! You did this, Chris Redfield. You did this with your giant watermelon arms."
Well, I mean, co-op games are in the decline in itself. If we're saying about things that we dislike, I guess in general, it's that I still remember playing things like Mario Kart 64 with other people sort of on the couch. I remember. Christ, what was it? The Super Monkey Ball, the first one, playing like Monkey Fight and all that sort of stuff with the last that I was seeing at the time by my side, and digs and tickles and giggles and all that kind of stuff. And it's it's a big part of gaming. And now, I mean, my friend Anton, his boys have done sort of really well at school, and so he's getting them an Xbox One. And I was thinking, well, Destiny would be a good one to play, and then I thought it would be one of them on it at a time. So I was thinking, well, more like something like Borderlands 2, because they could giggle along with it, they could play split screen, and they could enjoy it together. But
Plants vs Zombies, maybe.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. I mean, I don't really know massively about the ins and outs of couch co-op on that, as opposed to online. Because I think it might be split screen on the new one that's coming out.
Yeah, I think it was on the last one as well.
I don't know.
But yeah, couch co-op, it's definitely coming back in certain areas, but like it went away for a while.
I'll chuck in a bounce back then at this point. It's not particularly hateful one in this regard, and that's the Tomb Raider reboot.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I've Falling Down Simulator.
Enough of that.
Oh, she falls down so much.
Shut up. I won the 360 version back in the day. Played a bit of it, didn't come back. Just playing other stuff, I think. I picked up the PS4 version recently. Played it, wasn't overawed by it, but I'd heard it takes a few hours to get going. So,
it does, yeah.
I got further than I had in the 360 version. I hit a quick time event, which I was shite at. I just bottled it for the night. Just figured I'd got other stuff to play, so I traded it. I was having a chat with my friend Ellie, and she was telling me about the voice controls in it, both with PlayStation camera and with Kinect, that you can shout your weapon changes at the telly.
Can you?
Yeah,
that's
new? Honestly, it's awesome. And I thought, so anyway, I'd probably say 2 or 3 weeks after I traded it, Tomb Raider turned up on the Xbox One Games with Gold deals of the week for £7.90, and I had like nearly £5 on my account anyway, and I was like, yeah, all right then. Yeah, for some reason I thought like I'd give it a bash. Crashed into it, loved it, smashed through to the QuickTime event I'd not been able to do on the PS4, and got a bit stroppy about. Bit a man in the ear, shot him in the balls, moved on, loving it. Have absolutely smashed into it since then, and properly fallen for it. So why the apathy? The second apathy? Why now? No idea. Really, no chuffing clue. But I am loving yorping out the weapon changes at the telly. Sort of being in a situation of going around the corner, it's seeming peaceful, and just going like bow, and it changing through, or even selecting like the arrows, like fire, regular, for those, or maybe an enemy drops down on me, or I'm rushed at, and just going like shotgun, and instantly changing like that. That's pretty fucking cool. I love that, rather than faffing about with D-pads and like clicking, cycling between weapons.
Does it? Do you find, does it ever change weapons without you wanting to? Like if you go cack, and it's selecting axe. No.
This every now and again I'll kind of go like something like, oh fuck, or shit, and there'll be like a little circle in the top corner with a microphone in red, which means like it hasn't understood me and stuff. But the only point that it's not really understood me was a point where things were like stupidly chaotic, I think, and there was a lot going on. But other than that, it's genuinely been like really responsive, and the more weapons that I've got, it's still understood the things that I'm trying to do. And there's certain stuff like you can bring the map up and stuff, but it's just as easy to press the fucking button in that regard. But in the thick of the action of being able to call out the weapon swaps, and that's really neat. It sort of throws me into the moment, and it's just as it's as immersive as if you were in the game, if you were that character reaching for a gun or reaching for something, because you are doing it in the instance rather than like going to D-pad and going like cycle.
You know what it is? It's turned Tomb Raider into Judge Dredd Simulator.
Yeah, I can see
Ricochet.
That. I can see that entirely.
Heat seeking, like that. Yeah, go on then.
But it's kind of cool. I enjoyed the weapon swaps in themselves, but when I got the fire arrows for the bow, it surprised me that by saying fire and regular, I could swap the different arrows out on the bow completely on the fly. That's really neat. I dig that. So yeah, I've really, really lost hours at a time into it. But like I say, not asked about it at first, not asked about it even recently. So I think sometimes it can be a situation that you're in, or in this case, sort of being only having like £2 off being able to give it another go, quite fancying it, probably being caught up within those vocal weapon swaps as well. But all the pieces fell into place that hadn't been even recently when I tried the PS4 one. So
nice.
Yeah, I don't quite understand.
Cool. Okay.
I don't understand.
I don't understand. Okay. Next reply, maybe.
Yeah. Well, we jump into tweets this time. So we had an awesome amount of feedback on this. Thank you to everybody that jumped into this question. It's by far and away the greatest amount of feedback we've ever had for a question for an episode.
We are awash in a flood of feedback.
Well, when these first started coming through, we were like, oh my god, we're getting a lot of responses for these questions, and then we were like, oh, this is going really well. And then before the episode, Pad was like, how many tweets have we had sort of regarding this? And I was like, there was a silence, and I was counting them, and he was like, is this for effect?
Yeah, are you like, padding for a joke here?
Yeah, and then there was further silence. I was like, we've had 45 responses on this.
That's mental.
Which is just phenomenal. So
that's
thank
more
you.
Listeners than we've got.
I think it is. It's about 44 more than we've got.
Mum has replied about 4 times. It's fine. We got this.
Yeah, bless her. Thanks for that. And your little lion, hairy cage creatures. Chinchillas, that's the one.
I thought you were talking about me, so Christ.
Yeah. The first tweet is from Vimesy74, who said, would love to love any MMO. Tried them all. World of Warcraft, LOTRO, what's that?
Lord of the Rings Online.
Yeah, well played. WildStar, Age of Conan, Guild Wars, ESO. Just can't stick with them.
I am with you, hook, line, and death. Yes, I've tried this myself so many times. I just cannot cannot get into them. Like, I think MMOs for me the ones I've enjoyed have started off. They've had a good first hour. You run around, you're doing few little quests. It's great, and then you just get bogged down in so much shit, like so much shit. And I don't have the patience for them. I just don't. I've never been able to have the patience for them.
Because we're actually going to tackle one of these soon, aren't we? We're going to have a bash at Final Fantasy.
We are, and I've already had a bash at that, and well, in the past. Told you that.
All right.
When the beta was live, I played it during that, which is essentially the same demo. I initially bounced off a little bit from there, but I can't see myself paying £10 a month to play a game.
I'm kind of excited about us having a swipe at Final Fantasy. I think partly because I got very caught up in Holly Bennett's love of the game and the Nash Red Wings and her adventures in there, and just seeing. I don't know. It's wonderful to see somebody bond with a game anyway, whoever it might be, whichever game it is. You know, when somebody properly falls in love with a game. But
because you really expect that to be Warcraft with people, don't you? Like, I always find it quite interesting when someone, really gets hooked on an MMO and it's not Warcraft. Like, I'm amazed by that usually, because Warcraft is ubiquitous with them. Like at uni, there was a guy at uni called Phil, and he had to get his housemate to put parental locks on his computer.
No.
So he could do his uni work because Warcraft wasn't letting him do it.
That's terrifying.
It was bad. It got bad, and like he did something about it. So well done, Phil. But yeah, it's a soul suck.
Well, I started into Neverwinter last week.
Okay.
Which is a Dungeons and Dragons MMO that's I think it's been on PC a while, and it's free to play on Xbox One. I think it's coming to the PS4 sometime soon.
Okay.
So I'd seen a few people online had been playing it. My friend Armin had sort of had a good swipe at it, and I think it's because he bought Elder Scrolls Online a little bit later on. I think he enjoyed Neverwinter more, and I think Carl Moon and Darren Gargett and Tony from Ken and Rince have all been playing it as well, and said, like, not brilliant but free. And the stuff that I played of it last week, I really quite enjoyed.
I think MMOs have that bit. I think you need to. I think MMOs, if it's hooked if you're still playing it in 10 hours time.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the controls.
How many menus are there at any given point on the screen? Because whenever I play an MMO, there seems to be infinite menus.
Now, you see, I went through the bit where, I mean, the story stuff just seemed like incomprehensible bollocks. It probably doesn't to someone that's immersed in Dungeons and Dragons lore. But I had a good fight with the boss and stuff, and at this point it was all me. And when I got to the capital, it was just like fucking billion people around me, and that's the point where I felt a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And there was a man crawling around in some sort of giant robot crab suit, which I believe is an alternative for a horse.
Oh, well, that's fine. That's okay.
Which would, that'd cheer up the Grand National, wouldn't it? I'm coming up on the outside. It's Blue Rum. It's Black Dog, and here's a man in a giant robot crab. The man with the giant robot crab. Giant, he won.
Beast Wars.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious to play a bit more, but I'd imagine it's one of those that if you and I were perhaps playing at the same time, it might
maybe the PAL ship would help possibly.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
if only in working out what the menus do, because dear God.
Yeah, I haven't been put off by them thus far, but I haven't really had a massive amount to delve into them yet.
However, there are a lot of emotes.
I don't know.
You can do air quotes.
Right?
Yeah.
You see, with emotes, you're always looking at Monster Hunter on this because it always has the best.
Come back to that later.
Right, so the mighty Jerry McGreer says Witcher bounced off the first two within an hour or two of starting, got farther in the third, but I'm just not having fun.
Wow, I've recently played the. I've recently played about an hour of the first one, and while it starts okay, I found it to be the world's cool. The world's cool, but I found I was bouncing off the combat something fierce. It's weird, really weird. And like when you're in the first kind of real area, and you head outside the town, and 3 glowing green dogs turn up and rip you to pieces in like 2 seconds. I'm like, nah, that didn't feel fair.
Dude, I mean, I've played a little bit of the second one, and didn't really hate it. That was one that I bounced off when I first played it, and just didn't get on with the combat. This one, it is very very linear compared to the stuff that I've seen of Witcher 3, but very funny. I found that was a bit of a shock, and there was one line where I'd gone into a pub and I was taking part in these sort of bare knuckle brawls and stuff, and one of the guys I thought was called Flip Arse, and the bloke told me that like the reason he's called Flip Arse is because he does everything the wrong way round. He has breakfast at night or something, and like he I don't know, he was going through all these things, and there was something like and then with a woman he'll like nail them when they're dressed, and then tell them to get the clothes off, or like it was genuinely funny, and a lot of the humour I really liked, but I
can see why people would bounce off though, because like some of the other stuff around it, like the potion making, like what, I don't get that at all. Like, yeah, it seems to be quite integral, but also quite hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the stuff that I've seen in Witcher 2 was more like a thing that you kind of had to do as preparation rather than being, like a super headfuck. But I like the look of The Witcher 3. Everything I've seen of The Witcher 3 looks good, but I'd quite like to get a measure of the second one a little bit more.
See, my OCD won't let me play them out of order, so I'm going to have to beat Witcher 1, then 2, then 3. I know people have told me not to, but I can't not do it. And that may kill The Witcher for me, because it'll bug me.
Well, there were little touches in as well that I quite liked, where there's a point where he was thrown into prison because it's believed that he killed the king, and at the point where you go through the breaking out of prison level, and they fully identify the fact that if you're going to break out of this prison, you're going to have to kill people who are regular people posing as soldiers who are just doing their job. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I like that you've underlined that. And when you see sort of Geralt, he's just been lashed to fuck. And I was, yeah, that's pretty neat. But yeah, I'd quite like to get back to the second one, but I want to understand those relationships rather than going through the sequence in the third one where you sit on the chair and it's just like, oh, you met such and such. What did you think of them? And you're just guessing at them rather than perhaps
thought they might have been a bit of a dick. Oh.
Yeah, just rather than knowing by experience who they are and having that level of resonance when you see a certain person from the second game, or I'd like that. But yeah,
Witcher 3 does have that heinous act which will put anyone off, where they have sex on top of a unicorn.
What's that chuffing about?
Honestly.
What
are the chuffster?
Honestly. Right. Death Note says Fallout 3 just didn't get on with VATS.
Really? Because VATS is what saved that for me. Without VATS, because he was talking about this on his own show, Dark Insight, which is quite good. You should listen to it. I've subscribed. It's on iTunes. And yeah, like VATS is what saved the game for me. Like, that's kind of weird dichotomy. I like that.
VATS is what I missed when I started playing Skyrim.
Why can't I magically throw spells at people? Why do I have to aim these things like a fucking heathen?
Well, when Skyrim came out at that point, I couldn't afford it. Actually, I'd bounced off Fallout 3.
Okay, there we go.
When I first played it,
Nice
I
callback.
played it really for a very small amount of time. Didn't really get into the combat or anything. I just put it down and just wasn't asked. And then when Skyrim came out, I couldn't afford it, and I was quite in the mood for Skyrim. So I started in on Fallout 3 and just everything fell into place and just played that to bits, got the DLC, and by that I mean I rented it from Love Film, loaded it onto the hard drive of my Xbox 360 and sent the discs back. But loved Fallout 3. But it was weird because that initial thing, it was just, I look back at that with embarrassment because I just
didn't know,
didn't even look into using VATs or I don't know. It's just, I'm finding this a little bit with.
Don't like VATs. I know why people don't like VATs. It's because it's kind of like easy mode. Because you aim your gun at the man, and then as long as your numbers are good, the man's head falls off.
I still found it pretty tense though.
Yeah. Oh, it's tense when you're running out of action points and you're trying to hide behind cover and there's a deathclaw chasing you down from halfway across the map. Tense as all fuck. And I've been playing New Vegas on the PC, and it's the same thing. VATS is there, and if you don't pay attention, you're gonna get fucked. But I can see where people come from. Like, I think if you're a fan of like a traditional shooter, Fallout just isn't going to be that. It isn't. Like, I don't think the mechanics are tight. They're not. They're not snappy like a Destiny, for instance. They're not snappy. Gun controls. I've tried it with the mouse and keyboard. I've tried it with the controller as well. And for me, it's VATS or nothing with that game. Like, I can't get into the shooting. It's not as fluid.
Because they've changed it on Fallout 4, haven't they?
Yeah, it's a bit different.
That VATS is now, it doesn't pause the game, it just slows it down. And I think they've focused in on the first person or third person shooting aspects, maybe seemingly with a little more flourish and a little more nuance. And I'm not expecting it to be Destiny, but yeah, I'm up for the fourth one. Bizarrely enough, I've put, after all the Fallout 4 hype and knowing you playing it, I've had New Vegas on my 360 hard drive and put that on and just I've been putting it on too late at night. So the point where I put it on, I'm like, I can't be asked to set like character stats and create and fuck this, I'm going to bed.
What special?
So yeah, but I'm up for playing that.
Well, maybe there's another reason why people bounce off games. They play them in the wrong frame of mind, the wrong time of night.
Very much, and I think sometimes it's the stuff that you're playing as well, and your mood, and things that have happened at work, or your love life, or finances, whatever it might be that's impacting them. Sometimes, and I don't just mean you're waiting for a positive frame of mind. Sometimes it can be those times when things are quite dark. I've said before, there's the sort of triptych of like my birthday in November, Christmas in December, and January, like New Year, is a time I really struggle with the things getting dark early at nights and not being close to my family and stuff, and traditionally close to Christmas I play survival horror stuff and I have no idea why, and I finally beat Dead Space one Christmas, just sort of playing it completely in the dark and just losing myself in that world. And it seemed I was in, I don't know, I wouldn't say I was like in a dark place, but it was just like it just fitted with my mood. You know how sometimes as well the time of year can affect your memories of a game.
Yeah.
Like when Dark Souls came out, running through the Undead Parish and running across those, the sort of bridges leading up to the main sort of church and stuff, and it being that sort of late autumn, cusp of winter, sort of crispy coldness. I still relate that to going through those areas. And with Resident Evil 4, I completed that at Christmas, completely smacked off my tits on Quality Street, and I mentioned sort of previously that I still relate Christmas. People might go like, oh, Santa and Jesus. And I'm like, don't forget Mike the helicopter guy. We were going to have a beer.
We would... Right.
Mike!
Damn it, Mike.
How did that zombie get a rocket launcher? How?
They're getting smarter.
I know. Video games art dog Revatar says, I totally don't have the feels for Bloodborne either. I just love Scholar more. It's like everyone's drinking Earl Grey, and I think it tastes of lemony dishwater. Know those feels, dog?
Oh.
Those feels, dog.
But it's like prime soul. Oh, like, I want to say I can understand where you're coming from with that, but no, I can't. You're all insane. There is no positive spin on this one. You're all mental.
I just want to feel the things you feel, but that's not you, it's me. Let me see. Dan L. Utter Biblio on Twitter says, Limbo. Wanted to adore it, really didn't understand the appeal at all.
Right, so there's this boy, right? And he jumps. And he has to save.
Have you played it?
Limbo? I've played it about 3 times. I made Laura play it for the internet as well. It's great.
What, 3 times to completion, or just 3 times and thought, fuck that noise?
No, like, to completion. Like, I enjoyed it. I kind of like a weird, like, indie platformer, though. Like, you know, saving the girl with jumping, you know, because, come on. That's how indie platformers do. You've got to save the girl with the jumping. But it's a strange one. It's got a very sort of definite style to it. And the mechanics, like the jumping's a bit floaty. And again, people can gel with that, people can not. I mean, I know the floaty jumping is what killed Little Big Planet for a lot of people. You know, and sometimes the actual mechanics in question can override the setting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the setting was the problem you had with it, or if the controls were. But like, one can override the others to an extent where you can't enjoy the other. Maybe. I thought Limbo was great, but like, I can see where you'd get frustrated with it. Certainly.
Andy Farr at Semiband on Twitter says, Metal Gear Solid as a series, just don't get it on any level.
Oh my god, it's like the most video game there is, and that's weird for a game that's trying to be really hard to be a film these days.
I'm standing beyond this, having only played a little bit of Metal Gear Solid 2. And all I remember of that is having to constrict my hand into a form that the human hand and bones weren't designed to do, purely to fire a gun.
Your hand isn't good enough for Metal Gear. That's the problem.
Do I need a robot hand?
Evolve.
A big firing off robot
Chuck
hand.
some DNA in your arm and evolve. That's how it works, right? Okay,
yeah,
now I'm going to have to try and be really hard to kind of try and be impartial here, because Metal Gear is my baby boy. Right? This is hard.
Sorry, I'm just gonna get comfortable.
I'm gonna get a positive spin out of this. I'm not going to
Metal Gear Orange there.
Yeah, sitting in a room with a Metal Gear baseball cap to one side and
solid Satsuma.
Damn right.
Go on then, fire away.
Right, okay. So again, I can see why people bounce off Metal Gear. Like, the pace it's very different. And I think to fully appreciate the series, you need to start from one of the early ones. Like, I don't think you need to start on the ones Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, the MSX ones, I think they are, the sort of NESy sort of style ones. You don't need to start there, because at the start of Metal Gear Solid 1, there's a thing you can go to that just tells you the backstories of them, which is kind of cool. But some people will tell you to start at Metal Gear 3, and that's wrong. That is so wrong. You should.
Yeah, I've heard that quite a bit recently.
Fucking idiots, all of them. Never. No.
Don't say that.
No, you're
they're
all
lovely
wrong.
people.
No, they're wrong though.
You said you were going to be impartial.
No, I can't. When you play them the first time, you have to play them in the order they were made. When you go back, play them whatever order you want. The first time, you have to play them in the order they're made. That way the story layers and you get an idea what's going on.
Is this the lore, Big Boss?
It is the lore, Big Boss. It is.
I love it when you say your words back to me.
I'm the Big Boss man. And thus you should listen. But I can see, like, because the pace of it is very slow. Like, it is a much slower game. You're not going to just run in, shoot all the mans and win. That's not how it works. And half an hour cutscenes aren't necessarily everyone's cup of tea. I dig the shit out of them because it's basically like watching an episode of a really weird spy show that's gone off its tits on nanomachines. Fine.
I like how, from a distance, I like how bonkers it looks.
It is its own. Nothing is like it. And I think maybe that's it, because it's not like anything.
My only connection really to Metal Gear Solid, my biggest memory, is on the PS1, and I had a PS1, but I started seeing a girl called Catherine from Grimsby who was obsessed with Metal Gear Solid. and she'd been through it like numerous times, and my connection is really the fact that she was obsessed with it and played through it a million times, but moreover that she was a very ravenous young lady, and those were interesting times.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on.
Okay, I tried to be impartial when I failed. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but I can't.
and I just
don't make me be impartial about Metal Gear. It's not fair.
I just brought up a ravenous lady.
Solid Snake joke. Moving on.
No. That's more apparent. That's more as now you've ruined the entire series for me. Anyway, Jay Holden says, let me see, for 2 to 3 months after its release, I thought Dark Souls was decent. I didn't pick it back up until Epic Name Roads vids. Also, I wanted to play Bioshock, but couldn't because the look sensitivity makes me ill. There's input lag, moving the right stick all the way in a direction starts slow and then goes fast.
Mirror's Edge has the same problem for some people, doesn't it?
Yes, and wasn't that one where they had to put a dot in the centre of the screen because people were getting a bit vommy?
Yeah. Just jumping on the building, just throwing up all over their house.
With Bioshock, I felt the same as Jay when I first played it. It just didn't... the moving from side to side didn't feel right for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I rented the 360 version. And in the early days when I got my PS3, I bought Bioshock, knowing that Bioshock 2 was on the horizon. And Bioshock had just come out on the PS3, and it got a new ending which tied into Bioshock 2.
A new difficulty mode as well.
Oh, I don't know about that. But
it's fucking hard.
But I just did this. I really twatted about the sensitivity of the gun until I was happy with it, the moving left and right. So I did manage to conquer that myself. But yes.
Yeah, same thing. I tried the demo and didn't really dig it, and rented it off Love Film. Like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, again, demos, man. Maybe that's the problem. Demos.
Possibly.
Cool.
Yeah,
Next.
they're in. All right, then I'll move on then.
Let's move on. I don't care what you think. Go.
All right. Ben Smith says, sacrilege, I know, but Ocarina of Time. Ooh. I've tried it. I tried on the N64, GameCube, and 3DS, but just can't get into it. Love Wind Waker and LBW. What's up? It's a Wind Waker and
Link Between Worlds.
Link Between Worlds. Yeah,
I'm good at this. I don't play them, so I'm the go. It's you.
I've bounced off a lot of Zeldas. I bounced off Link Between Worlds. I did click with Wind Waker when I played it on the Cube, and it's beautiful on the Wii U. Although I bought it on the Wii U and didn't really play that much of it. Ocarina of Time, I've been meaning to get back to because it's just come out on the Wii U Virtual Arcade, and I bought it on the Wii and for the Wii U version, which I presume is a little bit quicker because it'd be American settings rather than UK sort of bordered settings. They're actually charging me £1.79 to upgrade to that.
It's not really that bad, is it?
Yeah, well played. So yeah, I know. Again, my friend Ellie's like a massive Zelda fan, and I've just never clicked with it. And it's strange that a lot of people that love the Souls games are Zelda fans, like big time Zelda fans, and I've not been able to do that kind of hop backwards. I guess also if we're looking back at sort of people from years gone by, I did go out with a lass from Manchester who was obsessed with Zelda games, and she was bonkers in the most terrifying way. So yeah, I think that is there.
By the way, I'm really liking this. Is turning into women you've gone out with show.
Yeah, it is kind of going there.
Look at me, I know some women. Fear me, nerds.
That was a strange one where we were going out, and I went up to stay with her, and there was a party her boss was having a birthday party, and she worked for quite a prestigious national establishment, shall we say?
Okay.
And partway through this party, her best friend came up to me and said, "She's upstairs. She's doing cocaine." What? And apparently, this boss had just gotten in I mean, maybe that's what you spend all your high powered money on. But he'd gotten in like all this sort of cocaine, and she came downstairs, and it was like a complete split personality. And I kind of had to temper this, just try and deal with this irrationality, and for the rest of the night until we went. And when we got a taxi, she was being she nearly got kicked out of the taxi because she was being racist to the taxi driver. We got back to hers and got to bed, and she pounced on me in the most horrible way and was trying to start something that I really had no intention of even vaguely going near, and was doing that incredibly violently until she eventually just passed out, and I was stuck in a place that I couldn't get back to that late at night. And in first thing in the morning, I just wanted to know exactly who she'd been that night, and then left. But yeah,
that got dark.
Bit left of centre, but yeah, strange old world, eh? Moving on. William Dunn said, I'd love to play virtually any MMO or MOBA, but just can't do it. I don't have the patience or time for them. A lot of my friends play Dota, League of Legends, and Final Fantasy. Tried playing them, but I just can't sink 1,000+ hours in catch up.
You know, yeah, we've talked about MMOs already, but like MOBAs, same problem for me. Like, I just can't. Like, I've watched League of Legends, and I've watched, you know, the Dota and the other one. They all look the same.
Do you think Destiny's going to have that issue with regards to catch up?
Well, you can still shoot the gun at the alien, right? It's all still there. Like, League of Legends seems to be like fight another person, and this community seems to be so like big, and the teams are so big that it just seems like hostile and toxic. And like, if you do something wrong, it could be your first match, and you're like, cool. How do we attack? Like, I don't know. I just I can feel the sighs coming from like 1,000 miles away. And it just seems like a really hostile environment to get into. Like, I don't know. That's from an outsider's perspective. I've never actually played any of them, but I don't feel like I want to. There's nothing there for me. I don't like playing on other people anyway, because other people are too good at video games. There was the one I get, the perfect example, a game called Awesome Noughts. I got a review code for that. Yeah, I got a review code for that. It was the side-on sort of MOBA style thing that came out on the PS3 initially. That came out on other stuff later afterwards. It had like this kind of 80s cartoon feel to it, with a big stupid 80s cartoon theme tune and everything. And for the first week, that game was brilliant. I used to run about. I was the weird floating brain in a jar guy, and I used to go and heal friends and capture points, and I feel like I was doing a good job. And I sort of left it for a week, and then I came back, and I was fighting god men who seemed to be able to unlock all the things in about 3 minutes. It's like, how have you possibly glowing golden and have smashed my base to pieces before I have put on my shoes? What is going on? And just people just get too good at things. And I know that's just me not wanting to get better at video games, but it kind of prices you out, doesn't it, of the newbie market. It's priced you out, and unless you're willing to give it that time to sit there and study tutorials and to really kind of hack away at it, I just can't see where you get the enjoyment. As someone who's not, as an external, I can't see how you'd get that lead in without some significant kind of support from other players, maybe. But I don't know, MOBAs, man, don't get them.
Dan Beams says Arkham City, played the whole thing. It was okay, but just didn't get the bug. So I asked, was that your first of the titles, or did you fall into Asylum sort of prior to that? And he says that's the only one I've played.
Wow.
So
Play Asylum.
Jumped in with. Sorry.
Play Asylum.
Oh, Asylum's awesome.
Way better. Okay, I didn't
Matt,
hate City, but Asylum is better.
Matt Maber says GoldenEye and the whole N64 experience.
Matt Maber is my
no. Don't miss the last bit. GoldenEye and the whole N64 experience. Poofed.
That sounds like a noise he makes in real life. That's my sister's other half. Hi, Matt. Yeah, he's kind of a Sony pony as well, actually, from what I know.
Is it something to do with like Portsmouth or?
Yeah, we like the Sony in the south. It's how it works down here. That's all lies. I don't know.
So yeah, we've got Nicole TH Surient Nim on Twitter says Kingdom Hearts 2. I wanted to love it so bad, hate the tutorial, can't sit through it. So I asked, were you a fan of the first game? And Nicole said, the first is one of my all-time favourites.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so bouncing off a sequel after, maybe it's a little bit sort of tied into the same sort of thing that I'm feeling with Blooders, but yeah, one of an all-time favourite, and then
from what I know,
the sequel and not being
Kingdom Hearts 2 takes about 9 years to get started, from what I heard. There's a great internet video. Have you seen the internet video about the guy comparing Kingdom Hearts with Resident Evil 4?
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
And nothing happens. You get enough money to go on the Disney train. Oh, that's a great video. And I still enjoy shouting "Zombies coming up the hill right now" at people.
Let me see. John Ander says GTA 4 and Dragon Age Origins finished both, but decided not to play any sequel of them. I've never really gotten into GTA. I think the first one. No, I tell a lie. I really enjoyed Chinatown Wars on DS and PSP. I thought they were awesome. And played GTA 4 and really didn't click with it. But I think that tied into the Chinatown Wars thing, the sort of main big world GTA like that I got into, I really enjoyed Sleeping Dogs, the stuff that I played of that. Okay. I thought it was funny. Car controls were awesome. Combat was superb. I've been meaning to pick that up on New Gen actually, and have kind of a bit of a feel for it. But being able to have a fight with someone and like throw them down on a swordfish was a first in gaming for me. And also there's that great line which we will constantly celebrate, which is like, "Hey you, why don't you have a pork bun in your hand?" No response.
I can't think of a reason. Yep.
I just want a pork bun.
Yep. Put it in your mouth.
All right then.
Yeah.
But even in these days in the real world where I've given up bread, I still wouldn't remove the pork from the pork bun.
No.
For fear of sort of his rising ire.
Okay, should we talk about GTA quickly then while we're here?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll seg you then. This is one of my nevers. This is one of my bounced off forever and just cannot get into it. GTA. The GTA series as a whole. I have tried numerous times to get into GTA. After being told, again by everyone, that it's the shit, everybody loves it. The magazines, at the time wouldn't stop talking about it. People online still don't stop talking about it. The characters and PlayStations are brought up, glibly like everybody knows them. I start to go, what's a Nico Bellic? Oh, okay. Like it's ubiquitous. It's video games. It's the biggest goddamn game in the world, probably. I would say. It's GTA. It's big and it's important, but they kind of feel just so dead to me. I don't find them fun, and I think I started this on GTA 3. I played a bit of the 2D ones, but I wasn't really old enough to get them properly. And then GTA 3 comes out, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's amazing!" So I borrowed it off my cousin, and I think I played an hour, 2 hours, maybe.
Yeah, I launched into Grand Theft Auto 4 thinking that it was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it was going to turn my universe inside out, and it's
Mandate Simulator.
I just again sort of found it. I know it's going for like a real world sort of feel, but I just found it drab.
I find it dry. I find the controls butt as well. I never liked how the car's controlled. I never liked how the fighting controlled, and that's most of what you do. You drive a car and you fight a guy.
And yet the stuff in Chinatown Wars with sort of that APB top down type stuff I just found really good fun.
I mean, even like Vice City looks like my kind of game.
You're kind of stupid was what you were going to say, and it is,
80s dumb, like that's my kind of stupid, like walking around in, like the jackets with the sleeves rolled up, like, oh yeah, come on.
Oh man, I'm missing a big one out of this if we're jumping into GTA likes, and that's Lego City Undercover, which is still the funniest game that I've ever played. Script of the Gods. I mean, when you came over that was it that February time?
Yes.
We were absolutely pissing ourselves laughing at that script. Genuinely guttural laughs, and it's a brilliant game. And yet, I think being purely on the Wii U, it's I don't know. It's passed a lot of people by, and it's one of those games that's still holding its price as well.
Yeah.
Even second hand, you're looking at a good £30 for that. But what a game!
Well, Lego City Undercover better than GTA, right? Do you know what else is better than GTA?
Go on,
Saints fucking Row, bitch.
Oh yeah, you're super into that.
I'm Third Street for life, and see. And I understand, I completely get that the first one was just a cheap clone of GTA. I get that. I totally understand. They just were cashing in on the whole gangsters and cars, yo. But then something sort of happens with Saints Row in the sort of during the second game. It's like they're starting to realise that actually we could play this for goofs. There's the mission in Saints Row 2 where you drive a poop truck and you spray poop on nice houses to ruin the property values in the area. Like, sure, yeah, okay, some of that. Take off all your clothes, go for a streak. Brilliant. Okay, yeah, cartoon. The way I always heard it described, and the way I tell people what it's like GTA, but if you drew it with a crayon.
Yeah, cool.
And like even the meta narrative of Saints Row, the opening of Saints Row 4 acknowledges the entire history of the franchise, both like as a kind of fourth wall break, and also the actual Saints themselves. Like it's kind of like they started out quite serious, just trying to copy, what other people were doing, and trying to be all serious. And then they realised actually, we could have fun with this, and we spread our wings, and we decided actually no, let's have more of everything, And the most important thing should always be fun. It's like this is weird and meta, and I love it. And like the Saints Row games, I repeatedly will sit there and cackle like a goddamn idiot at the screen. And like characters that are fun, and they phone you, and it's like, I want to take this phone call. Like, this is going to be a fun conversation. It always is. Even when it's like, we need to go cap those homies, like it will still be funny. And like, there's always a mission in each game where you drive around and you have a little karaoke sing-song with Pierce. Incredible! And I will purposely drive around and not finish that mission ahead of time so I can listen to the whole song. Like, it's stupid. I love it.
Saints Row 3 was the first one that I played, I think, when it arrived on Plus, and I only played like a little bit of it. Not enough to form an opinion. There were some of the controls that didn't quite sit right with me, but I didn't properly get into it. But as a little left of centre from the GTA thing, Just Cause 2.
Yeah.
I lost my universe to that fucking game, and it wasn't. I mean, the story was bollocks, and most of the fun for me was just going around to different towns, ridding it of people. It's quite, quite repetitive in a way you could say.
Yeah.
But I just enjoyed going to places, shooting things and shooting people, and then finding the buildings which had petrol in them, like garages or massive industrial plants, and just watching the biggest, loudest explosions I'd ever seen, whilst essentially being Bionic Commando.
The scourge of Latin American men's.
Yeah, and I mean, I've normally got a pretty decent moral compass for these things, but they might as well have named Panau "Everyone's a Cunt" because everyone was a target, and I just had a daft old time. And the soundtrack to it was rubbish. So I replaced that on a memory stick with with Commodore 64 chiptunes, and then replaced that with Radiohead, which is a really surreal experience because all of a sudden this bonkers world was set upon like with really unusual sort of quirky indie stuff, and it just became I don't know, something else again. So,
Okay, well, there's a lesson here. We've come to a lesson. We've actually got a lesson. If you don't like a game in a certain genre, for example, GTA being the open world crime genre, to generalise, try a different game within that genre. Because we've both found like real things to grab onto in games that are essentially copies of it, but done a bit different. So maybe if you don't like a certain kind of game, try something a little bit different than it.
That's a groovy call and summation. So well played.
Excellent. That wasn't even planned as well. Because I'm known for my planning in this show.
You're on the money with all your prep this time.
I wrote 9 words this time.
Yeah. Woot woot. 9-word train.
Ding ding.
Hype. Gunnar Moore says, The Witcher 3. I loved Witcher 2, but ever since Dark Souls, no medieval fantasy has been the same. Still playing Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. Well played, Gunnar, for a start. But yeah,
What was that thing? What was that phrase you coined a while ago?
Oh, the Dark Souls doesn't let you play. You might start other games, but Dark Souls doesn't let you play them for very long.
Maybe Dark Souls is the problem.
Yeah, I wonder if Witcher 3 might be the same for me in that regard. So I don't know. I think it'll take one of those where it hits about 20 quid, or there's a daft CD key for it where I kind of jump in. But I'd like to love it because the world itself looks incredible. So Josh Crow says Fallout and Skyrim. I definitely see the appeal of them. They just bore me to tears. Much more of a Baldur's Gate person.
I've bounced off the Baldur's Gate. Like when I say Baldur's Gate,
you should try opening it.
Fucking hell.
I couldn't resist it.
I've attempted the Baldur's Gate games, the PC ones. I bought them on GOG because they're like 20p on GOG for a while, and you're like, well, why wouldn't you? I don't know. Maybe they're a bit old for me now. Like, I'm really trying to get into them. I just can't. I have this thing about once a year where I'll install one of them, and then I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to install all the fixes and all the patches, and then just dive off. And I imagine that 20 years of advancements in game design have probably ruined me for games like that now.
Yeah. Although there is a degree that I know back then a lot was being tried, and games were sort of rich and difficult, and you really had to throw yourself at them to get the best out of them. And I think if anything maybe has been lost in the modern day, it's been that degree of ambition, I think.
Yeah. In
many ways, of not being afraid to kind of shrug people off before they came back to give you a hug.
Yeah, but again, obviously the Skyrim Fallout thing, we've covered them both before. You can see why people wouldn't like them for reasons, but then you can see those same reasons. The same people love them. So games, yo.
Yeah. Carl Moon of Canaan Ruins says Mario Kart is the obvious one for me, but hate is such a strong word. Don't really hate anything. Right. Here we go. Unpopular opinion alert. Here's one of mine.
Prepare it.
Yep. Unpopular opinion alert.
You just banged a pen on the table, didn't you?
No, I caressed the wood very gently. Also the desk.
Okay. What is your unpopular opinion? Go.
Mario Kart 8. Played the balls off Mario Kart 64, couch cop times of true joy with old friends, girlfriends, top times, etc. as mentioned earlier. Tucked into a bit of the DS version, had fun with the Wii U version, and was really, really excited for Mario Kart 8. Really.
Mario Kart 8 is the gravity one, right?
Yeah, that's the new one.
Okay, cool.
Really, really didn't get along with it. You can take your 1080p, boing your music, your 60 frames per second, but most of the tracks were over
59.
in no time. Oh, shut up. But most of the tracks were over in no time. They were just sort of looping, and, race had ended. Had very little that thrilled me, and an echo in the back of my mind, and this, again, is a very unpopular echo. Mario Kart 8 is not as good as Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed.
Ooh, hot take.
Yeah. Barring perhaps the winter slalom track on there, which I think is an old N64 track anyway, which evolves sort of checkpoint to checkpoint rather than like lap. And is a proper joy in Mario Kart 8. there's not a single track that holds candle to the Afterburner level, to the Shinobi level, the Sanity Amigo level. Oh, this shit! What going up all the stairs and stuff.
And bouncing off the top of the temples and things. Great.
The Samedi Amigo level, the opening level, that Sonic-y level. Each of them sort of unfolding and changing as they go along. Your vehicle morphing. I really, really loved Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed, but didn't expect to kind of like that. But wanted a kart racing game. I'd heard Ace Things, and I think on the Wii U it knocked down to something like a tenner, like really early on in HMV. And when I started playing it, just fell in love with it. But I didn't expect to not get along with Mario Kart. And there's also the level in Mario Kart that I constantly find that if I get to the front of the pack in the first 2 laps, I'll get fucking hammered.
Well, that's how Mario Kart works. It's a rubber band.
Yeah,
if you stretch forwards, it will ping back.
Yeah, I'll get smacked by a bullet or a blue shell or any of that bollocks. And I know that brings in the folks that maybe aren't so good at the game, but I'm familiar with that from previous titles. I've had no problem with previous titles.
What Mario Kart needs?
I just think that Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed is a far better game.
See, I think I know what Mario Kart would need, and forgive me if this has been in one of them because I really haven't played many. Like in Smash Brothers, okay, Smash Brothers is great because if you don't like an item, you can turn it off. I fucking hate the banana peel. Hate it. Turn it off. Just turn on the ones you want. Like, that would be cool. Like, you play, like, a special race, or you could call it or something, or custom race, and say, right, only red shells. Nothing else.
I suppose you could do that on, like, for couch stuff, but you can really do it online.
You can always host it online. It will show you what's allowed and what isn't at the start, and you can say yes or no. I don't know. Maybe we could vote on it or something. I don't know. But yeah, no, the only Mario Kart I've ever really got on with superly would be Double Dash, really. That's because that's the one we played at uni. It's the first one. Like, I've never really got on that much with the rest of them.
I've not played Double Dash, actually.
It's the only one I've played.
As much as I love the Cube, I've not played that.
We played it, it was 4 of us, so we played it kind of as 2 twos. Trying to win the really hard races, and like where one of us, we both try and race quite hard at the start, trying not to kill each other. And then whoever kind of was taking an early lead, they'd then be the one that goes to the victory, and then the other 2 would kind of play defense for them. So roll behind, and if someone started to get ahead, just fire things at everything in position 2. Really good fun. We had a really good laugh with it. We were beating the 150cc cups, like that, and it was a slog, but we had a lot of fun. Like, really, really good.
Double Dash is quite divisive, though, isn't it?
It is. Again, like Mario Karts, ones like that where they try something different, you either like love it or hate it. And where probably I haven't got the same attachment to it, it's probably why I do love it. More than any other.
I think that was a staple of the GameCube anyway. That Nintendo started to throw the baby out with the bathwater a little bit, and you got things like Double Dash and Super Mario Sunshine, still my favourite Mario game. And I know that's a contentious opinion as well. So yeah. Rich Woodward, Woodfella15 on Twitter says, "I hate Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is shit."
What's not to like about a rad 90s Bandicoot?
You've got a model of Crash Bandicoot, haven't you?
I made it from an Airfix kit. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He's looking at me, and his arms are wide, and his mouth's open, and he's like
crying on the inside. He's crying on the inside.
He's crying on the inside. He looks happy, but I can see the tears. He's actually riding on a wave of tears on his jet balls.
Right. So this next one we have a little bit of a back and forth on this one.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is, and I should have really done this beforehand, but can you bring up the Twin Humanities email account, please?
Yes, I will do that. Fill in some Foley music yourselves at home, listeners. Hum, maybe?
Beatbox.
Yeah, beatbox. While I type. Okay. Planning. This is good. I love this planning. What's the password? Just tell me quickly. No.
Lol.
Lol. And then I'll cut it. No, I won't. Okay, I am open.
And the email? Right, I'm just booting up my email because my computer is.
Wait, you weren't doing it as well?
No, this was something entirely in the mode. I did click on the Google Chrome button at the same time as I was mentioning it, but knowing that my computer might go, hold on a minute.
The Krugel games.
Well, I'll do that Audacity thing and the Skype thing. Right. Right. Because this is taking a little while, I'm going to. Oh, here we go. Attempts to fate.
This is good radio.
Yeah, and I've just written it all in caps, so it's probably going to shout at me.
This is hot radio.
Ooh. Do you want to chuck in one of your hates while I'm?
Yeah, while we get our shit together. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. While shit has got together. Okay. My next hate, and we'll go quick because we're now at the 2-hour mark, and I need to go to work in the morning. Right. Street Fighter. We're going big. We're going hard, right? Basically, I'm saying Street Fighter here, but what I really mean is every fighting game that isn't Tekken. Because okay, so for context, Tekken was the first fighting game I ever got. Like Tekken 3, I got at Christmas when I was about 13 or 14 or some shit. Got it for Christmas. Played the ever loving crap out of Tekken 3. Like I had the whole thing unlocked within about an hour and a half. Like spent hours playing Tekken Ball mode, Tekken Force mode, did the arcade mode over and over and over again. Yeah, I used to love that goddamn game. Loved it. Tekken Tag came out later on. Loved that as well. Tekken 4 was a bit but then Tekken 5 was brilliant again, and I mean to that point Tekken's the only real fighting franchise I'd really kind of tried, and sort of I then kind of picked up, I think it was Soul Calibur 2 it must have been, or something around that, and it was alright, but I couldn't kind of get into its rhythm. I thought, well, maybe I liked it, I played quite a lot of Soul Calibur 2. I thought it was a cool game, but I never got into it in the same way that I did for Tekken, and then I thought, well, a lot of people like Street Fighter. And I got one of the PS2 anthology ones. It was like every version of Street Fighter 2 on one disc or something like that for like a £5. And I'm like, well, go on then, that's worth a £5. And I just bounced off it so hard. Like I just could not get into its rhythm. Like, I could beat in the arcade mode. I could do the first two guys, but like to getting the inputs for the Shoryukens and the Hadoukens, like I understand what was necessary to do them, but like my fingers aren't trained to do it. Like I'm used to the double taps and the double taps of Tekken and like the 10 strings, whereas Street Fighter it's more about the quarter circles and the half circles and things, and I couldn't glean onto it. And I tried a few different versions of Street Fighter as well. I rented 4 off of the Love Films. Again, like looks stunning, don't get me wrong, Street Fighter 4 looks incredible, but for me, and this is just for me, like it feels like it plays like shit. And I just can't get into its rhythm. I just can't do it. And that applies to every goddamn fighting game. Mortal Kombat, the recent ones that have come out, cannot get their rhythm. Played a bit of DC Universe. It was fun, but I can't do anything. I can't advance to the next stage because I want to do Tekken inputs. And like, has Tekken broken other fighting games for me, perhaps? Is it Tekken's fault that I don't like Street Fighter? And I can watch a Street Fighter match and I can watch them play and it's like technical and spacing and interesting to watch, but I just can't get myself to a point where I can visualise doing that myself. And I found that I bounce off these things more. Like, Virtua Fighter was another one I tried. I got that when I got my PS3. I bought that for £50 fucking with the PS3 and just could not get into it. And I know Virtua Fighter is not really an accessible game per se, but like I just felt like I'd wasted £50. I thought, I'm only going to play the Tekken Dark Resurrection that's come out on the PS3 download store. Why have I bought this? So yeah, Street Fighter and other fighting games that are not Tekken, I just can't do them.
Interesting.
And it makes me sad because I know that they're cool.
Right, can you bring up the draft that I've just put into the Twin Humanities inbox?
Yes, I've clicked it.
Right, for this brief radio play,
okay,
I will be playing the role of Joshua Garrity.
Right.
My friend Patrick will be playing the role of Sean Bell from Midnight Resistance, and I will also be playing the role of Twin Humanities, but in a very, very English accent.
Okay.
Okay.
Hang on. La 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 la. Ready.
Okay. Joshua Garrity says, surprisingly, Braid has been a game I've struggled to enjoy. Just found the gameplay tedious. Vastly prefer Limbo.
Joshua!
I knew that would get a reaction from you. Ha ha! In for a penny, in for a pound then, Sean. Any particular game you really don't get on with that everyone adores?
Fucking Assassin's Creed.
The first one, and for what reason?
All of them, apart from Black Flag, and that only gets away with it because of the pirate bits. I could go on for a while. Main irritation is the lack of freedom in a game that's meant to be open world. No actual scope for creativity or thinking on your feet. Listen to Midnight Resistance. He didn't type that.
Yeah. But do. I remember having a conversation with Sean where I was saying that the only game that I've finished in the Assassin's Creed series and the only one that I really enjoyed was the first one. So it was quite nice for him at the time to go, oh, that's an unpopular opinion, which was wonderfully classy of you, Sean. Thank you. Braid then.
Braid.
In the first instance, I'd never played.
I've played a bit of it on the PC. And I generally don't tend to lean onto games on the PC very much because I don't often find myself sat here apart from to talk to you for 9 hours at a turn. I like it. But it's got that thing I get with puzzle games where past like the easiest levels, you do your first world and you get to the second world and things start getting weird and you think, right, I'm stuck. I can't work this out. Like, it wants something difficult of me. I can't quite work it out, but I'm too proud to look at a walkthrough. So it kind of gets binned. Swapper had the same problem. I'm just at a point with it where I just can't. I can't brain the puzzle. I look at it and I think I can see the switch I need to stand on, but I am bollocks if I know how to get there.
With regards to Black Flag, I think you really dug that as well, didn't you?
Oh, Black Flag's amazing. Like, I like the Assassin's Creed. Like, we've covered this at so much goddamn length.
We have.
But like Flag is pinnacle Creed for me now. Like that's the one. If I'm going to play another Assassin's Creed game again, I'm playing Flag because pirate.
Right, so we're into the home stretch now, and I'm going to interject one of mine into this.
Do it
before we bounce back into more tweets. Arkham Knight.
Oh, that is not controversial at all. That's actually way to go with the herd.
Yeah. I wasn't up for this. I wasn't taken by any of the footage I'd seen. Then I saw the reviews. I watched a bit of streams, saw a decent price, and swiped at it. You and I have different views on the Arkham games. I loved Asylum. After initially bouncing off it, might I add.
Good callback.
Initially, at the time when it first came out on PS3, I played it. I just thought Batman felt too clunky and too big in the environment. I just genuinely didn't love it at all. And there was a point ages later where the demo, I got nothing to play, and the demo was on the Xbox 360 Marketplace, and I just put it on. And I was like, "Fuck, this is awesome," and ended up buying it and loving it from there. But I didn't really get that much time with City. I loved Origins, and I know you bounced off it. But
yeah, Origins is the one that I didn't like because I thought City was quite good, and Origins for me, Origins felt like, let's do that again, and that was it. That was their game design document. Let's just do it again. For me, as someone who played a lot of, I played City quite a bit, and I watched Laura play basically all of Origins, and it's just like the detective stuff in it was cool, but like that wasn't enough for me.
I will go into my detailing on Origins in a moment, but for Arkham Knight, it seems like they've gone for their big window is 1080p, but there's fuck all in the city. Arkham City and Origins both had decent excuses to conveniently empty the city. I mean, mainly technical, but City doing its version of The Wire's New Amsterdam, and Origins having its Uber snowstorm. For me, Origins also had stunning art design. I'd never seen Gotham kissed by a snowstorm, looking like a fucking beautiful cake, covered in white, and the shimmer of neon upon it made it look different. magical, and the Christmas setting, and even the Christmas music sort of coming across as sinister as it was festive. Here the excuse for for emptying Gotham is to like, well, the Scarecrow's done a thing.
Stay at home, idiots.
It just means that there's nothing on the streets bar a few people and the odd car sort of per bit. Next gen should not be doing this. Show me Gotham that's like Witcher 3, looks bustling, make me care about the city like the Bat does. Show me these little missions that are about the people in spite of the people, peppered and spiced by villains. Give me a day-night cycle in which I might have to bring the Bat out in the day. Heck, I might even have to be sort of a stealthy Bruce Wayne to tackle a problem. Let me feel Gotham. Instead, clunky Batman, empty streets, bland seen it all before city design without the imagination of, say, Burton's Gothic vision. Jumping onto a building in the Batmobile, turning it into a tank for a top of the building platform section to then pull open a thing with the Bat winch. Not calling in the plane or using some sort of stupendous gadget that could be dropped by the plane. No, clambering on top of a building to do it in the car.
Wow.
I traded it in and got the same money back that I paid for it. Maybe it'll be another asylum where I'll get into it another time. But
see, for me, from the externally, it looks like that the problem with all these kind of games that run too long, open world games that run too long, is that everything in that game I have done before. Mm-hmm. Oh, except the Batmobile, but from all accounts, you don't need to do that. Like, I've done it, but I have collected more Riddler trophies than there are Riddler trophies in the world. Like, I have done that. I don't need to do it again. Like, story, if the story's good, fine. But I might just watch the story on YouTube. Fuck it. I'm going to be one of those people. I already know the ending, so...
let me see. Robin at Kisses Fingers on Twitter says, I'm sure Persona 4 is a good game, but the 4-hour-long intro of pressing X was enough to drive me away.
Do you know what? Yes.
I've
100% agree. I tried Persona 4. I couldn't do it. Right, okay. Persona 4 has a few problems for me. A few problems. Yeah, the intro's long. Okay, fine. Some intros are long. RPGs are big. Whatever. Thought the combat in the areas was kind of fun. Cool, inventive ideas, The combat was a little bit samey, I found, but it was interesting. But, and this might be contentious for some of our listeners, the high school stuff can eat my dick.
Okay.
If I've done school, I don't need to do school again.
Really?
I've done some school, and I've had the school experience. I don't need to sit there trying to work out if I should be doing my homework or going to after school club or making sure I'm seeing my friends. I didn't make sure I saw my friends when I was at school. I went home and I played fucking Tekken.
Now you see, I really want to get into that stuff. I really would like to love Persona 4. I've genuinely not played enough of it to have seen that sort of stuff. I've kind of pressed X a lot. I haven't even gotten into the fighting stuff, or particularly bar like a tutorial, if I can remember. But there are a series of games that are absolutely my kind of thing, and beyond the bit I've played of Persona 4, I really enjoyed the Persona games that I played on the DS. And
is it because they barf endless words at you during the school bits?
No, I don't know. The one on the DS was more of a strategy game that I played. Devil Survivor, that was it. And I really enjoyed the stuff that I played of that, and like the idea of the personas quite a lot, with the the ones that you can kind of splice into one another and create other stuff. And there was an amazing game on the DS called Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey, which I imported, which was fantastic, which was kind of a dungeon master kind of crawler, but set with the as a science team, military sort of science team that were going into this. That's something that had happened in the Arctic that turned the Arctic dark. Which is just fucking... It was essentially a horror game.
You missed an obvious one there.
What?
The Darktic.
Okay, well played.
Thank you.
That would be even funny in an Irish accent. But yeah, so it is something that I'd like to come back to.
I bought it from the PSN, the Vita store for like what, £9 or something stupid. I think I
coerced you into that, didn't I?
You did, yeah. It's your fault.
It's my fault. I wanted us to kind of play through that together. It looked like a sort of an us thing, but I want to like time it, but time and tide just pushed us away.
I've been to school. I don't need to do it again.
You keep overemphasising this.
I went to a school. It was horrible. Ugh.
Let me see. Corporation Defend. Sorry, we've done that one. Alabaster Mage says Shadow of Mordor really hated how it underuses Middle Earth and reduces it to a bland, empty field filled with guard towers.
No. Okay. Do you know I'd not actually considered the world before?
Well,
that's not because I'm so invested in Ronk who flees.
You're the nemesis this time because it's a game I still haven't played.
Scoth, fucking Scoth, the guy who chased me for like 10 hours and just would not die. And when I finally cut his head off, I think I whooped. Fucking Ronk who flees, and oh my god, Poog the ugly. Oh my, do you know? Okay,
you know how you were saying like you went to school and you didn't like it and you didn't associate with the people.
I associate more with orcs that are trying to murder me.
I was gonna say it just sounds like you're.
It's quite a lot like some school sort of in that respect.
Some sort of old like 40s British film, like there's my friend Ronk who flees, and of course you're played by Alec Guinness.
That's fine
in that role.
Aha.
Alec,
but yeah, do you know what? It raises an excellent point. I have never considered. I don't think about the world when I play Shadow of Mordor. I didn't think about the world. The world was just a place to be in while I found more orcs to fuck with. Like, what can we do to this man? Let's make him turn against that man, and then I'll laugh while they fight. Like, if you are a dickhead, Shadow of Mordor is the game for you.
So then Alex says, would love to love Mario, see the appeal and genius of the design, but I get bored really easily with platformers.
I don't like Mario for a different reason. I don't like the jumping.
Okay.
I don't like the jumping, and I realised that, again, God, we're just unpopular opinion town here today, aren't we?
Oh, I've got a doozy.
Do you know how people don't like Little Big Planets jumping? I'm bringing that up again. I have that with Mario jumping. It's floaty. I think it's floaty to me. And Little Big Planet jumping is floaty as well. Don't get me wrong, it's more floaty, but it feels floatier than I feel like it should be. Like I need it to be like sharp. Like for me, like prime platformer jump is like Guacamelee. Like that thing is sharp as a goddamn button.
It's a good game. I enjoyed that.
But Mario, I've tried a few of them now. Like it's taken a while, but I have tried my hand at a few of the Mario games, and I just find them like slippy.
Okay, can I interject here? The fun that we had on that Wii U version playing the most chaotic co-op that I think I've ever played in my life was genius. You were an unruly fool, you were a force for evil, and we laughed our fucking hearts out when we played that.
We did.
That was genuinely amazing.
My solo experiences have not matched up. Not by a long
it's weird. It's a very... What, you mean with other games or with that game?
With other games, I don't have a Wii U.
Well, like that Wii U Mario's 3D World, isn't it?
Yeah, that one.
It's a very different game, a very considered and cautious game, single player. But it was just so fucking bonkers when we were playing. We were shouting at each other, laughing, usurping one another,
not letting each other up the stairs.
Seeing as we're in platformer land,
okay.
Another unpopular opinion, which may now have people switching off early. Shovel Knight.
Okay, I'm switching off.
Thanks for joining us on the Humanities. Next time won't be another episode.
Boom, 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 boom.
Right. I was really looking forward to this one for a long time. The delay on the Wii U EU release broke my heart. I was so up for it. I saw numerous adorations on the net. It looked so much my sort of thing, and then I found it so boring. The gameplay didn't excite me. It didn't move me. It didn't intrigue me. There was that kind of a nice little cutscene with Shovel Knight missing the Lady Knight.
Shield Knight.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
But that was as good as it got. And also that fucking music. I love Jake Kaufman.
That amazing music.
I love Jake Kaufman's score to Double Dragon Neon, but if this is what an NES sounded like, thank fuck I had a Commodore 64. The first level score made me want to throw my telly out of the window. It was like listening to a budgie trapped in a vacuum cleaner, repeating the same 30 seconds of twatting song as the cyclones minced into its lungs. I keep going back to, even with the music switched off, I keep going back to it going like, I'd really like to like you now. And I grew up on loads of stuff like this with the Commodore 64, loads of these kind of platformers, but I can't love it. I feel the same about Rogue Legacy.
Have you done a campfire bit yet?
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
Oh.
I feel the same about Rogue Legacy as well. I've bounced off Rogue Legacy. I just there's nothing there for me to love. And was worried that the same sort of thing was going to happen with Guacamelee, but I quite like Guacamelee.
See, the weird thing with Shovel Knight, right? I love it, right? I fucking love Shovel Knight. I don't have nostalgia for that kind of game because I kind of had a Master System, which was all right, but was not considered the best. I thought it was the best, but whatever. But like, I don't have nostalgia for that kind of NES platformer, like you Mega Mans and stuff that it's obviously inspired by.
No, I mean I didn't.
I don't have that.
A NES either.
Yeah, but this like. It kicked me right in the heart. Like, I played Shovel Knight on the PC, joy upon my face. I bought it again on the PS4 when it came out, played it through again, joy upon my face. Like, it's a joy game. It's so happy. And the amount of things you can do with the shovel, like the platforming levels get really kind of like clever. Like, it's thinking, right, what can we do with this? Let's do as much as we can without getting stupid. Man, God, you should like it. Why can't you like it? It doesn't make sense. I can't put it in my head.
I just don't like it.
The Venn diagram of you and Shovel Knight is quite closely linked in my head. I can't imagine a gap between those two circles.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
Oh,
sad.
God,
very sad.
Sadness. Oh,
you see, there's part of me that's fearing that when I pick up that rare replay thing, in a little while, that I'm just gonna go like. Because there's stuff on there that I was really connected to.
I've just bought 50 games I don't like.
yeah, more or less. Because there's stuff there that I really loved, like sort of Jet Force Gemini and loads of stuff that I haven't played before, and that'll make for an interesting show if nothing else.
Nostalgia never holds up unless it's Metal Gear Solid 1.
No bias.
No bias, never.
Let me see. Kurt Lewin says, I would say Time Splitters. I just thought it was average, not much fun.
Okay, first one, yes. Fully agree. First one was alright, but it was quite simple. Second one was brilliant. The level maker on that, dear God. When I think about the hours I spent making bullshit levels that would make it really easy for me to beat the AI on, particularly a flame tag mode, where one person's on fire, and the aim of the game is to be the person that's been on fire the least. And making levels where I could very easily just perch with a minigun and just stand there and just fight them off forever. Oh man. But I can understand the first one though, because the first one was definitely a bit more bare bones. It was just right, run in, get the crystal, get out. That's the game. I understand there is a plot in there somehow, but it's not really fleshed out in the first one. I'd be interested to know if you play Time Splitters 2. Let us know.
Martin Charlton says, no one seems to be willing to admit that Red Dead Redemption is a bit dull.
No, because that's wrong.
I've got it, but still never played it. But I know how you revere it.
So you know how I don't like GTA, right? Right, take away the cars, put a horse in it. Right. Sometimes that horse will be in a tree. When you whistle,
it's all about wilderness situation, is it?
Honestly, tree horse. God, Red Dead, man. The world is kind of empty, but I feel like that's the point. It's the frontier. There's, people are discovering it. I think if the world was full, it wouldn't be the same game. I don't know. Maybe the emptiness. I feel like the emptiness makes it for me.
Do you know what the great thing is about having such kind of extreme and what will seem like extremely horseshit opinions in the eyes of people that are listening who are going like, Jesus Christ!
Everyone that's giving us questions, we're just telling them they're wrong.
Is that I know, and I realise there are a lot of people that are going to be swearing at our stuff, but it's great to, and this is probably the reason we've done the episode, is it's great to smother our opinions in the pillow of everybody else's.
It's great because you've genuinely baffled me, like in many ways tonight, listeners. Well done. You've baffled me.
Also me.
Yeah.
As in I baffled you and have put our friendship in jeopardy.
There's a bunch of bafflement going around tonight.
Yeah.
It might be too late in the evening for this much bafflement.
Yeah, fair play.
I mean, or whatever time this might be. Shush, don't break the spell.
Okay.
Don't break character.
Nearly midnight.
Right. On this summer day.
Yeah. In a place that's sunny. Right, we've got... It's getting late. Let me see. I've got a triple-barreled response here, covering hate, bounce back, and invert. Hate.
Like fucking Tony Hawk. Blue gap text flies up at the bottom.
Right, shut the fuck up.
Right,
I'm going to ollie off this one.
Kickflip.
Yeah. Clopsy says, with regards to hate, most indie games, especially those going for retro look and feel, aren't my cup of tea. Now, if they'd been around in the 80s, ...
They'd have been too advanced to exist.
Bounce back, let me see, Demon Souls, heard reviews, bought it, played it for a few days, then sold it, went back after Dark Souls and loved it.
Okay.
On the kickflip side, we've got also want to mention that Destiny is inverse to this. Critics hated it, and it's now my most played game ever, besides NHL 92.
Wow.
Yeah. Big up.
Good shifty invert. I like it.
Yeah, covering all three bases, Clopsy. Thanks.
Including a base we didn't realise we had.
No, I think that's pretty cool. So
regarding the indie game thing, very quickly on that, like I see a lot of people actually that don't like the kind of like everything has to look like it happened in the NES. Like, it's a good stylistic choice for a game that works well. For example, Shovel Knight, it's a great fit, but like, I don't know, pixel art isn't necessarily for every game. I feel like some games are taking it as an easy mode.
Well, there's a waveform platform game that's on DS and Wii U, Mighty Switch Force.
Yeah,
that's it. And the first one on Wii U is they've taken the DS game and it's all kind of polished up and like clean lines and all that sort of stuff, and it looks great. And the second one, it just looks like they've taken the 3DS version and just put it onto the Wii U, so it's all chunky, snazzy type sprites and stuff. And I really liked the clean lines of the first game. So yippidas. And so our final response, and thank you again to everybody that's chimed in on this. It's from Sydney, who says Fallout 3. Just don't get it. I love Splatterhouse, which everyone hated.
Okay. I never played that.
No, I've never played it either.
Because they make a remake of that was supposed to be quite blech as well.
I don't know. I know the look of it, and I know that there's a few folks that have quite a soft spot for it. But it's not
games we love that other people hated. That it's a whole other show right there, isn't it?
So yeah, we'll leave it there then for tonight. So thank you to like I say, thanks to everybody. This is by far and away the hugest response we've got to anything, and probably the first time that we've done a specific show that's hinged on a question. So I'd be up for doing a little bit more of this.
Yeah,
but,
and we've had the response has been so good. The 4 lines of text I've written, I've only used 2 of them.
Yeah, I'd still got another thing that was jotted down, but I'm thinking that because it's now midnight, and we've been recording for about 2.5 hours.
Yes,
might be an idea to push the stop button.
We should maybe do that. Yeah. But
if you're listening to us for perhaps for the first time with this, or you've not listened to us for a while, thanks for listening, and maybe jump back into some of the old stuff, or just join us for the next one, or stick around and chat and let us know what you think. That would all be bloody groovy.
Like it, share it, retweet it, all that stuff. You know, you're supposed to do it.
Don't you hate it when people on vids on the net go like, oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, and put what you think in the comments, and then some of those people will just sort of talk about how much they hate comic sections.
But then, like, those are the people that tend to have 4 billion subscribers, whereas we've got about 4. So, like,
yeah. But then again, every time I kind of read a comment section, I kind of buckle. Anyway, so
yeah. Okay. So how about this then, right? So like it, share it, but don't comment.
No. Chuck us some interaction. That'd be pretty cool. Anyway, I'm running out of voice, and we really need to get to bed. Which sounds like we're going to sleep in the same bed, like we're Eric and Ernie in the same house, which is a vision that I kind of like. So just imagine us doing that.
With the lemons.
Bye.
Sunshine in your smile, bring me laughter all the while. I'm still recording in the